Chapter 34-27. These evil-looking monster stone carvings recorded the history of some kind of strange beast tribe. However, Night Sorrow and the rest were not in the mood to study it. Using the power of his divine sense, Yi Shang confidently probed the area and discovered that there was indeed a top-tier exotic beast expert here. This strange beast expert had imprisoned all the people of the Night Demon territory in a sealed array formation. Using the power of the array formation, it was absorbing all of their vitality. The cultivators in the array formation had cultivated for more than 2,000 years with the support of large amounts of resources. More than 30 of them had already advanced a half-step to Supreme Realm. They provided the strange beast expert with a very powerful aura. Sensing all of this, Night Sorrow immediately shouted angrily, "Bastards, stop! Who is it? How dare you disturb the king's cultivation? You deserve to die!" Night Sorrow had just opened his mouth when some of the stone carvings on the stone wall jumped down from the stone wall and blocked in front of Night Sorrow. "The person who will kill you." Night Sorrow sized up a total of 9 half-step to Supreme Realm 4th grade strange beasts in front of him. After these strange beasts jumped out of the stone wall, they turned into flesh and blood. He immediately summoned Bai Wuji. Together with Bai Wuji and Jialin, they fought the 9 half-step Supreme Realm strange beasts in front of them. Bai Wuji was a half-step Supreme Realm 4th grade, but he was clearly stronger than ordinary 4th grade cultivators. When he erupted, he could basically display the strength of a 5th grade cultivator. Fighting 3 strange beasts alone was not much pressure. Jialin was slightly weaker, but he could temporarily block the attacks of 2 strange beasts. As for the remaining 4, they were all dealt with by Night Sorrow. Although he was fighting 4 strange beasts alone, Night Sorrow's efficiency was clearly higher than Bai Wuji and Jielin's. Worried about everyone, he immediately activated the 33 Heaven Star Ruins secret battle technique and destruction divine ability. He used the Ice-Fire Mother-Child Spear and other ultimate techniques on them. Soon, the 4 strange beasts in front of him were killed. "Jialin, let me help you." After killing the strange beasts in front of him in less than 20 breaths, Night Sorrow began to help Jialin kill the 2 strange beasts she was fighting. His speed was extremely shocking. "The increase in your strength is too terrifying." Seeing Night Sorrow cutting down exotic beasts half a step to the supreme stage like he was chopping vegetables, Jialin was immediately shocked. At this time, Night Sorrow had already begun to help Bai Wuji in battle. This time, they'd annihilated the beast before them in less than 10 breaths of time. "Follow me!" Night Sorrow roared angrily when he sensed that the aura of the exotic beast expert was gradually increasing. The aura of the people in the Night Demon territory was getting weaker and weaker. Some of them were even directly sucked to death. He was prepared to quickly find the mutated beast expert and kill him. However, they had only taken a few steps when some beasts half a step into the limitless 4th stage jumped out of the stone wall. Although the strange beast this time was only at the 4th grade of half-step Supreme Realm, its aura was clearly much stronger. Moreover, there were almost 20 of them. Seeing the 20-plus strange beasts blocking the way, Bai Wuji immediately frowned and said, "So many strange beasts, I'm afraid it won't be easy to deal with." "There's nothing difficult about it. Watch me." Night Sorrow roared and directly burned his Phoenix bloodline and Jialin bloodline. He blasted out the Ice-Fire Mother-Child Spear at the 20-plus strange beasts in front of him. This time, he added some flame core energy into the Ice-Fire Mother-Child Spear. After shooting it out, several strange beasts were directly killed. "This is too strong." Seeing Night Sorrow kill 4 or 5 half-step Supreme Stage exotic beasts in one move, Bai Wuji was immediately surprised. According to his judgment, the current Night Sorrow's strength was at least 20 times stronger than when he fought with him. This was an extremely terrifying increase. "This is nothing. Compared to the exotic beast expert inside, you're still far from it. Follow me and kill." After Night Sorrow killed a few strange beasts in one move, he went on a killing spree in the tunnel. Bai Wuji and Jialin assisted him to complete all kinds of kills. This time, although the strange beasts in the stone carvings were stronger and more numerous, they were quickly killed again. "I didn't expect you to have some ability. However, you have to pass through the 8 generals under my command." At this moment, the strange beast that was absorbing the energy of the people in the Night Demon territory made a sound for the first time. After that, 8 strange beasts that seemed to be able to support the heavens jumped out in an instant. These strange beasts looked more ferocious than the other, and their auras were very powerful. Each of them was a half-step supreme stage 5th stage existence. With their path blocked, Jie Lin and Bai Wuji's expressions immediately became very ugly. Bai Wuji could at most fight one of these strange beasts, and it was not easy for Jie Lin to survive under the attack of one of them. Therefore, their hearts were very heavy. According to their judgment, even Night Sorrow could not kill 6 half-step supreme stage exotic beasts alone. After all, they were too strong. Night Sorrow could sense Jie Lin and Bai Wuji's auras and immediately said, "You guys retreat a little, I'll deal with them." Night Demon, you have the ability to fight 8 alone. Hearing this, Bai Wuji immediately asked in surprise. Obviously, according to Night Sorrow's words, he had not used his full strength yet. Looking at it this way, although he was a half-step supreme stage 3rd stage, the combat strength he could unleash was close to the peak of the half-step supreme stage. Whether I can or not, I still have to fight and kill them quickly. Night Sorrow said coldly and sent a voice transmission to Little Fool. Little Fool, prepare to use the attack you prepared. Okay. Although the attack I prepared with Bai Wuji's divine artifact is also a half-step supreme stage 5th stage, it can directly kill 1 or 2 of these strange beasts. Little Fool replied confidently. Okay. Get ready to attack at any time. I'm going to attack. Night Sorrow used the Sea Serpent's Eye to observe the 8 generals in front of him. Once again, he had Jie Lin and Bai Wuji retreat. With the Golden Heavenly Halberd and the Desolate War Halberd in hand, he began to fight with them. This time, as soon as the battle began, Night Sorrow burned his Leaken bloodline and used the attack and defense techniques on himself. He raised his state to the extreme. After that, he used the power of the Flame Core and continuously used the 2 halberds to unleash his ultimate techniques. Under such a level of attack, the half-step supreme stage 5th stage beasts in front of him were basically no different from the 4th stage beasts just now. Soon, Night Sorrow killed 2 or 3 of them. At this time, in order to save time, he suddenly sent a voice transmission. Little Fool, attack. Okay. As Little Fool replied, he cooperated with Night Sorrow and blasted out a half-step supreme stage 5th stage attack. Night Sorrow faced the remaining strange beasts and used the Divine Essence Trap Array and Merit Trap Array, as well as the defense technique, so that they could not escape. After being hit, another 2 strange beasts fell. After that, Night Sorrow unleashed his attack again and killed the remaining strange beasts as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Without stopping, he rushed toward the strange beasts that were absorbing everyone's aura. Chapter 34-28. Damned ant! How dare you stop this king's good deed? You're courting death. The king-level beast that was absorbing everyone's vitality saw Night Sorrow break through its defenses and attack it. It let out a cold roar and temporarily gave up on absorbing the vitality of the people in the Night Demon territory. It quickly flew over and violently attacked Night Sorrow. Who are you calling an ant? Night Sorrow did not panic at all when facing this beast. He directly used the Void Broken Palm Divine ability and forcefully resolved the attack. At this moment, Night Sorrow saw clearly that this peak half-step Supreme Realm Beast King was a beast with a tiger's head, snake's body, and bat wings. This beast gave off an extremely cold and dangerous aura. After resolving the first attack, Night Sorrow immediately used the Golden Heavenly Halberd and the Desolate War Halberd to shoot out the Ice-Fire Mother Spear. This time, he used the strongest essence of the Flame Core in the Ice-Fire Mother Spear. This attack was the highest level attack he had in front of him. After blasting out, with the help of the Merit Trap Array, it successfully bombarded the tiger-headed snake beast. He was sent flying by the explosion. At this moment, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice. Jie Lin Bai Wuji, I'll hold him back. You guys go and save him. Oh woo! The tiger-headed snake beast that was hit by Night Sorrow was basically immune to his frost power. However, when it was burned by the flames, it immediately let out a mournful howl and became completely berserk. While it was being burned, it also roared and attacked Night Sorrow with an ultimate skill. Several spikes on its back shot out. After these spikes were shot out, each of them bloomed with an evil light. They cut through space and time and strangely shot towards Night Sorrow. As expected of a peak half-step Supreme Realm Beast, its attack is almost impossible to dodge. When these spikes shot out, Night Sorrow was sure that he could not dodge this attack with just his speed. Immediately, he formed a Divine Essence Trap Array around him to mitigate these attacks. At the same time, He blasted out the fiery demon-subduing spear into the void, using the scorching heat of the fire core to deal with these sharp thorns with an evil aura. However, even such flames were unable to completely incinerate the spikes. 3 spikes shot through the divine essence trapping formation and attacked Night Sorrow one after another. At this time, Night Sorrow used the heaven-defying dragon roaming steps to dodge, but it was too late. 3 consecutive spikes pierced his arm and sternum. After the 3 spikes hit Night Sorrow's arm and sternum, they immediately exploded, causing Night Sorrow to bleed on the spot. The waiter immediately asked with concern, "Night Sorrow, are you okay? Are your injuries serious?" "It's not a fatal wound, it can be healed." Night Sorrow used his Leaken bloodline to heal his wounds and replied to Little Fool. At the same time, he gained a deeper understanding of the tiger-headed snake-body exotic beast's strength. It was a half-step Supreme Realm exotic beast that could advance to the Supreme Realm at any time. Some of its innate attacks were still very powerful. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow put away the Desolation War Halberd while healing his injuries. He cast the Divine Essence Trapping Formation and Merit Trapping Formation, as well as the Defense Seal, at the tiger-headed snake-body exotic beast. After temporarily trapping it, he quickly closed the distance between them and prepared to engage in close combat. To him, he had already used the very powerful Icefire Mother-Child Spear earlier, but the effect seemed to be ordinary. Therefore, he was prepared to find another way. In the process of close combat, he used a spirit attack to cause serious damage to it. He had already discovered that this tiger-headed snake-body exotic beast's defense was extremely shocking. After all, even after being burned at the core level, its defense was still not broken. "You want to engage in close combat with this king? How dare you?" Seeing that Night Sorrow chose to engage in close combat, the tiger-headed snake-body exotic beast was not shocked. Instead, it was overjoyed. Immediately, its body became about the same size as Night Sorrow. It increased its flexibility a lot. After both sides engaged in close combat, Night Sorrow discovered that his opponent's close combat ability was indeed very strong. Moreover, the strength of its body was as he had imagined. It was almost in an invulnerable state. His continuous attacks did not cause any real damage to it. At this time, the tiger-headed snake-body exotic beast laughed. "Haha, an ant that doesn't know anything. Don't you know that in order to advance to the Supreme Realm, the first thing you need to do is to advance your body to an invulnerable state? With your body's strength, you still dare to engage in close combat with this king? You're really courting death. There's such a saying? Doesn't that mean that almost all Supreme Realm Masters have invincible bodies?" Hearing this, while Night Sorrow was surprised, he also understood something. Then, he transmitted his voice to Little Fool. "Take the restriction-breaking hammer and go help Jie Lin and Bai Wuji. After you succeed in saving them, you guys leave first. I'll deal with this tiger-headed snake-body exotic beast myself. I'll meet up with you guys later." He felt that he might not be able to completely kill the exotic beast in front of him today. Because this tiger-headed snake-body exotic beast's body had already reached perfection, it was very difficult to completely kill it. "Understood. I'll contact you via voice transmission later." Little Fool received Night Sorrow's voice transmission and replied. At the same time, he immediately controlled the Eternal Divine Tower to fly to help Jie Lin and Bai Wuji. At this time, with Night Sorrow restraining the tiger-headed snake-body exotic beast, they had already successfully found the place where everyone was trapped. However, they could not break the formation no matter how hard they tried. When Little Fool arrived, he immediately took out the restriction-breaking hammer and asked them to help break the formation. At this time, the tiger-headed snake-body exotic beast was very confident in fighting Night Sorrow. According to its judgment, Jie Lin, Bai Wuji, and the Eternal Divine Tower flying over did not have the ability to break the formation it had set up. As the battle progressed, Night Sorrow basically gave up on the idea of killing it. He kept using all kinds of divine spirit attacks to exhaust it. The tiger-headed snake-body exotic beast was not in a hurry. It used all kinds of attacks to attack Night Sorrow. Through the battle, it had already discovered that Night Sorrow was not simple and had the intention to devour and refine him. It felt that as long as it absorbed all the energy in Night Sorrow's body, it would definitely be able to advance to the supreme stage. However, although Night Sorrow was scratched many times during the battle, he relied on his powerful Leaken bloodline to recover. After fighting for about an hour, The wounds on his body from the 3 spikes had already recovered. It saw Night Sorrow's recovery ability with its own eyes. The tiger-headed snake-body exotic beast said greedily, "This king will definitely obtain your bloodline today." "You can't do it." As Night Sorrow replied, he used his divine spirit to check the restriction-breaking hammer's movements. Although the restriction-breaking hammer was trying its best to break the formation, its progress was still slow against a formation set up by a quasi-supreme stage expert. "Hee. When I was fighting with you just now, this king did not use the strength of a quasi-supreme stage expert at all. I'll let you have a taste of this next." The tiger-headed snake-body exotic beast laughed sinisterly and completely changed its aura. In an instant, its aura became completely different. Chapter 34-29. After the tiger-headed, snake-bodied beast's aura changed, the aura that erupted from its body vaguely had the aura of the Supreme State. Night Sorrow had felt this aura from Yen Hengshi before. He immediately became vigilant against the beast. At the same time, he transmitted his voice to Xiong Chue. "Try to find a way to break the formation as quickly as possible. We're already doing our best, but the strength of this formation is too high. It's beyond what we can handle." Xiong Chue heard the transmission and replied, "Ask your friends in the Eternal Divine Tower to help provide some energy or resources so that you can advance on the spot." Night Sorrow was already very risky to transmit his voice while facing the tiger-headed, snake-bodied beast. He no longer had the energy to talk to Shower about this. After replying to Xiong Chue, he activated all the statuses, including the Star Ruin power, and prepared to face the Beast King's challenge. "Die for this king." After the tiger-headed snake-bodied Beast King raised his aura, he sensed that Night Sorrow's Leaken bloodline was at the supreme level. His heart trembled, and he wanted to take it for himself. With a roar, he took out a snake staff and smashed it at Night Sorrow. This move seemed ordinary, but it contained the power of the quasi-supreme state. This was something that Night Sorrow did not possess yet. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that he should not use the Golden Heavenly Halberd or the Desolation Halberd to take it head-on. Therefore, he condensed the Star Ruin power and attacked the snake staff with the Star Ruin Mother-Child Spear. Boom! The Star Ruin Mother-Child Spear was one of Night Sorrow's strongest attacks. After bombarding the Beast King's snake staff, it immediately repelled the tiger-headed, snake-bodied Beast King. This not only surprised the tiger-headed, snake-bodied Beast King, but also Night Sorrow. What kind of power is this? Why is it so strong? He was puzzled when the Beast King with the snake staff was repelled. He did not know what kind of power Night Sorrow had used. At this moment, Night Sorrow also did not understand. He did not expect the Star Ruin power to have such an effect. This power was even stronger than the flame core he had just controlled. He thought to himself, if that's the case, what kind of effect will the combination of the Star Ruin's power and the core of the flame produce? With that in mind, Night Sorrow shot out the mother-child gun again while the strange Beast King was still in shock. This time, he used the flame as the sub-spear and the power of the Star Ruins as the main spear. The Beast King immediately used its footwork to dodge. However, at this moment, Night Sorrow once again executed the Divine Origin Trapping Formation, the Merit Trapping Formation, and the Defense Seal. Instantly, the Beast King's speed was greatly reduced. Damn it! The primal chaos was formed by nature. The trapped exotic Beast King sneered coldly. Suddenly, he executed another ultimate technique in the trap formation. When this ultimate skill was used, its power was clearly stronger than the snake staff's attack just now. In fact, it was much, much bigger. So you didn't dodge out of fear. Instead, you made me choose to exchange blows with you again. Night Sorrow, who was paying attention to the Beast King with the sea serpent's eye, immediately saw through his thoughts. However, right now, he was filled with boundless confidence. He didn't choose to dodge at all. Instead, he chose to clash head-on with the exotic Beast King. After the two's attacks collided, Night Sorrow and the exotic Beast King's bodies kept retreating because of the backlash. They both crashed into the wall behind them and sank deep into it. No wonder you're so confident. It turns out that this chaos is really powerful. Night Sorrow, who had been blasted into the stone wall, felt his body and realized that he had almost been killed by the collision. There were at least 20 wounds on his body, and each of them was so deep that his bones could be seen. He didn't leave the stone wall. Instead, he took out a few pills from the space and swallowed them. Then, He activated the Leaken bloodline and recovered quickly. However, although the Leaken bloodline's recovery ability was extremely powerful, it was not enough to let him recover his combat ability in a moment. At this moment, Knight Sorrow used the power of his divine soul to sense the exotic beast king in the distance, and found that its situation wasn't much better. It was also recovering in the stone wall. However, what surprised Knight Sorrow was that the exotic beast king's recovery speed was even faster than his, who had the Leaken bloodline. He immediately began to ponder what was going on. After thinking for a while, Knight Sorrow recalled the exotic beasts he had encountered when he had just entered the mystic realm. He guessed, this exotic beast king and I are both injured now. The reason why it can recover so quickly must be related to the stone wall or the array. If we allow him to recover at this rate, we might all die here. At this thought, Knight Sorrow immediately sent a voice transmission to Bai Wuji. Bai Wuji, the exotic beast king in the stone wall is seriously injured now. It can't attack. Get it out of the stone wall. Yes, my lord. Bai Wuji, who couldn't help with the restriction-breaking hammer, immediately called for Jie Lin. They came near the stone wall where the exotic beast king was and started attacking it. At this time, the exotic beast king was very regretful. Why did he send out all his generals? If he hadn't sent them out, he would be invincible now. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Helpless, he could only drag his injured body and use the power of his bloodline to forcefully respond. Attacking in such a situation was equivalent to risking his life, but he had no other choice. However, his strength was much higher than Jie Lin and Bai Wuji's. Although the two of them attacked with all their might, they were all neutralized. This made Bai Wuji very angry, and he felt that he was too useless. Knight Sorrow, who was using the power of his soul to check the situation, reminded the two of them, just delay it. Don't push it too far. Otherwise, the exotic beast king will self-destruct and die with us. My lord, I will be careful. Hearing this, Bai Wuji immediately reacted. Actually, this kind of battle was very good, and he was no longer obsessed with it. As for Knight Sorrow, he quickly recovered. Seeing that the situation was not good, the exotic beast king hesitated for a moment and finally decided to give up. Chao Jilin and Bai Wuji unleashed a heavenly primal chaos art before diving back into the stone walls to escape. The exotic beast king's speed was not something that Jie Lin and Bai Wuji could catch up to. They could only helplessly give up the chase. At this time, Knight Sorrow slowly came out of the stone wall and said, "It's okay. We were able to force a quasi-supreme venerable to retreat. It's already a success. You're so badly injured. You'd better recuperate quickly." Jie Lin immediately reminded him when he saw the many wounds on Knight Sorrow's body. "I'm fine. Let's go and see our friends who are trapped." Knight Sorrow, who was walking slowly toward the array, kept an eye on the exotic beast king. However, the exotic beast king did not appear. It must have escaped. Then, under Yi Shang's gaze, he used the restriction-breaking hammer, which had been raised to the peak of the 4th grade of the half-supreme realm, to successfully break the formation. After the array was broken, Knight Sorrow checked it, and his expression became serious. Chapter 34-30. The people of the Night Demon territory in the formation were all extremely weak. Most of them had fainted, and some of them had lost their lives. They had obviously died. There were quite a number of them who had died, about 70 to 80. These cultivators were basically at the lower heavenly supreme level, and were considered weak in the Night Demon territory. They had all died from having their vitality and blood sucked dry. Save them, hurry up and save them. Seeing the situation in front of him, Knight Sorrow swore to himself that he would definitely kill the exotic beast king to avenge today's grudge. However, at this moment, he had no time to think about other things. He immediately began to save people. Using his Leaken bloodline, he helped cultivators recover one after another. "Brother Yi, you're finally here. Quick, help me check on Feng Shui." When Wan Jianzong recovered a little and woke up, he immediately said excitedly when he saw Knight Sorrow. He was very worried about his wife. "Don't worry, Feng Shui is fine. Don't say anything else. Immediately take a pill and recover your vitality." Knight Sorrow used the power of merit to purify some of the negative aura on Wan Jianzong's body and handed him a pill. Then, he went to Xiao Tianxuan's side. While treating him, he asked, Brother Xiao, what's going on? He felt that Xiao Tianxian should know the ins and outs of the matter since he did not faint. After we discovered this secret realm, we have been cultivating here. In the first few years of cultivation, our strength increased at an astonishing speed, so we summoned everyone here. But a few days ago, the entire secret realm suddenly changed. The exotic beast king led many subordinates and rushed out of the stone wall. They attacked everyone. Although we have many half-step supreme realm cultivators, we are no match for them. At this point, Xiao Tianxian sighed and said, "So we were all locked in this formation." Then, the exotic beast king began to use the formation to absorb everyone's vitality and blood essence to increase his strength. Bastard. So that's how it is. This should be a trap set up by the exotic beast king, using resources to bait everyone. After listening to Xiao Tianxian, Knight Sorrow realized that it was similar to his judgment. Then he continued, "Brother Xiao, where do you think those things came from? I've never heard of such a tribe in the foggy area." What he meant was to find the nest of the exotic beasts and kill them all to eliminate the threat. In my opinion, they probably came from the underground of the Night Demon territory. After all, before this, there were no traces of them in our Night Devil territory. If they were in other territories, then they would attack on the people of other territories. Xiao Tianxuan's exotic beasts. I'll do a thorough search later and try my best to kill the Beast King and its entire race. Yishang nodded and said coldly. Night Sorrow, this is the wine I brought from my hometown. You've worked hard recently. Try it. Xiao Tianxian looked at the injuries on Night Sorrow's body and felt his heart ache. He took out a jar of wine and handed it to him. This jar of wine was brought up by him from the divine realm. It was the last jar in his hands. Haha, thank you, Brother Xiao. When Night Sorrow heard that this jar of wine came from his hometown, he immediately understood that it was a product of the divine realm. He took it and drank it boldly. For a moment, he felt as if he had returned to the divine realm. He thought to himself, "Family, wait for me. Once I finish off the 3 supreme venerables, we'll meet again." After finishing the jar of wine, Night Sorrow began to treat the injured cultivators of the Night Demon territory again. Those who had recovered a little also began to help. It took more than a day to wake up all the cultivators who had fainted. However, those who had been sucked dry of vitality and blood essence did not wake up. Let's bury everyone. After that, I'll bring you to find the nest of the exotic beast. I'll avenge everyone. Dozens of cultivators had died in the territory all of a sudden. Night Sorrow's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. He said coldly and began to bury all the cultivators with the others. Then, he put everyone into the Eternal Divine Tower and brought them into the stone walls of the secret realm to search for the whereabouts of the exotic beast king. Although he had the sea serpent's eye, he could not see anything with his divine eye. Thus, he used the tracking secret technique he had learned from the Horn Clan and began to track the exotic beast king from its aura. After all, they had fought for so long just now. Night Sorrow naturally controlled the aura of the exotic beast king. Then, he led everyone to follow the aura and dig underground. They dug about 30,000 miles. Night Sorrow suddenly entered a world filled with stone carvings. After arriving here, he immediately felt the strong aura of the exotic beast king and immediately led people to chase in its direction. It actually chased here? How is this possible? The exotic beast king, who was recovering in its nest, quickly discovered Night Sorrow's arrival and was instantly terrified. That was because he sensed that Night Sorrow's aura was much stronger than his. In a panic, he summoned 50 to 60 half-step Supreme Realm exotic beasts and had them stop Night Sorrow. He was prepared to escape again. Trying to escape? It's not that easy. Today, whether it's you or your clan, you will all be destroyed. After Night Sorrow used his divine spirit to detect the exotic beast king's aura, he immediately flew in its direction. The half-step Supreme Realm exotic beasts that were blocking him were basically no match for him. If one came, he would kill one. If 2 came, he would kill a pair. Good job. Seeing Night Sorrow killing the exotic beasts one by one so bravely, Master Myriad's sword shouted happily. In the formation, they had been tortured by the exotic beast king and hated the entire exotic beast tribe to death. Don't worry, I will kill all of them. Night Sorrow replied after hearing Master Myriad Sword's words and continued to chase after the exotic Beast King. Although the exotic Beast King had been commanding its subordinates to stop him, it could not stop Night Sorrow from chasing after it. Not long after, it was blocked by Night Sorrow at the exit of this small world. Looking at the extremely weak exotic Beast King, Night Sorrow said coldly, "Heaven's Net has long arms. Do you think you can escape after killing someone?" Dang! With a loud roar, he unleashed the power of ice on the Ice King. If it was at its peak, this kind of power of frost would not have any effect at all. However, now that it was used, it immediately trembled and felt incomparable fear. Chapter 34-31. Moreover, Night Sorrow's powerful aura also made the Beast King very afraid. It couldn't even think of fighting back. It only wanted to escape as soon as possible. But at this moment, its speed was obviously affected by the power of ice. It was basically impossible for it to escape now that it was blocked. At this moment, Night Sorrow sneered, "You still want to escape? Where do you think you're going?" Then he shot the mother-child spear, which was a combination of the power of the star ruins and the power of fire, at the Beast King. This time, he didn't use the Divine Essence Trapping Array, the Merit Trapping Array, and the defense spell. But the injured Beast King still couldn't avoid it. Helpless, the Beast King could only burn its bloodline to resist this move. After being hit, the Beast King's body directly exploded in the void. Countless blood essence and vital energy spewed out of its body. These were all absorbed by the Beast King from the cultivators. They didn't belong to it at all. Under the condition of being seriously injured, it could no longer control it. "Spare me! Spare me, my king! I'm willing to submit. I'm willing to submit to you." Under such circumstances, the Beast King immediately knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. When you tortured and killed others, you should have known that you would end up like this. Your begging is useless. He was willing to accept people like Bai Wuji, who attacked Night Sorrow and was later subdued. But Night Sorrow had no intention of accepting people like the Beast King whose hands were stained with the blood of his friends. He replied coldly and sent a voice transmission to Little Fool, "Keep it in the Eternal Divine Tower and turn it into energy. Keep it as backup." "Okay, I've been waiting for you to say that. After absorbing this quasi-level, we can definitely brew an even more terrifying attack." With that, Little Fool took the Beast King into his storage ring. After the Eternal Divine Tower absorbed the Beast King, Night Sorrow summoned everyone. He brought them, who had not completely recovered, to kill all the beasts in the small world. Then, after investigating, Night Sorrow discovered that cultivating in this small world increased his strength very quickly. Although it wasn't 10 million times faster, it was hundreds of times faster than other places in the foggy area. He immediately began to set up a formation here. After setting up the formation, Night Sorrow left some of the people from the two worlds here. He brought Xiao Tianxian, the 10,000 Sword Sect, and the others back to Friends Gathering City. After returning this time, Night Sorrow didn't leave immediately. After catching up with his friends, he stayed in the city and cultivated for a few years. It took him about 200 years to perfectly fuse the Star Ruins energy and the Flame energy, and create a new unique skill, the Infinite Starfire Spear and the Starfire Motherchild Spear. Only then did he bid farewell to his friends and set off on his journey again. However, he didn't immediately take the Eternal Divine Tower to the first and third floors. Instead, he chose to return to the Eternal Ancient Barren World to visit Wu Lingfei and Jing Yun. So many years had passed, and he missed his family very much. However, the others were in the immortal realm, so it was inconvenient for him to visit them. He could only visit the two women. When they reached the periphery of the Eternal Ancient Barren World, Night Sorrow realized that the array he had set up was not destroyed. This meant that in all these years, no one had entered the Eternal Ancient Barren World through the entrance. He immediately calmed down. However, when they arrived at the residence of the two women, Night Sorrow's heart skipped a beat. Because in addition to the two women, there was also a young man who was practicing his spear. The young man looked to be about 16 or 17 years old, but his cultivation was already a lower honorable. His marksmanship was quite decent as well. After probing the young man's aura, Night Sorrow determined that this was his and Wu Lingfei's child. He quickly flew down from the void and looked at the young man. "What's your name? Who are you?" Seeing Night Sorrow's arrival, the young man immediately asked in alarm. Haha. Child, I'm your father. Yi Shang smiled as he looked at his son in front of him. Through the eye of the sea serpent, he discovered that this child was much stronger than his other children. Even in terms of cultivation talent, he was much more talented than him. He lamented, with such talent, isn't it a waste to stay here and live in seclusion? However, thinking that his cultivation path was so difficult, it was actually a good choice to let his child enjoy a life that was not in harmony with the world. The young man in front of him heard Night Sorrow say that he was his father. He immediately sized up Night Sorrow with his dark eyes. He looked at him again and felt that he really looked like the father that his mother had described. He originally wanted to ask something, but after thinking for a while, he transmitted his voice to Wu Lingfei. Mother, someone came here. He said that he is my father. Zhifei, be careful. Hearing this, Wu Lingfei immediately became alert and flew out of the room. When she saw that the person who came was indeed Night Sorrow, an indescribable smile immediately appeared on her face. At the same time, her eyes were filled with tears. They had not seen each other for thousands of years. Now that she saw Night Sorrow suddenly appear, her feelings were indescribable. Lingfei, it's been hard on you all these years. When Night Sorrow saw Wu Lingfei appear, his mood was very complicated. He flew over and hugged her in his arms. The two of them chatted for a while before Wu Lingfei looked at Yi Zhifei and said, Zhifei, why haven't you paid your respects to father? The reason why we can live comfortably here is all because your father is fighting outside. Yes. Hearing Wu Lingfei's words, Yi Zhifei immediately knelt down and said, This child pays his respects to father. I wonder if father can give this child some pointers on his spear skills. Haha, of course. Yi Shang said with a smile. Between him and Yi Zhifei, blood was thicker than water. Although it was the first time they met after so many years, they could feel a sense of closeness from a few words. After that, Night Sorrow and Jing Yun exchanged some pleasantries and began to give pointers to Yi Zhifei on his spear skills. Under Night Sorrow's guidance, Yi Zhifei's spear skills improved very quickly. For the next 10 years, Night Sorrow was immersed in this kind of life. However, one day, after 10 years, Yun Yi suddenly transmitted a message. Night Sorrow, something big happened in the fog area. Do you want to come back? What happened in the misty area? Night Sorrow immediately responded when he received the voice transmission. Recently, on a mountain peak in the fog area, a tree that can bear supreme fruit appeared. There are already several fruits on it. I heard that after eating these fruits, although they can't really help one become supreme paragon, they can raise one's cultivation by 1 level. This is a good opportunity for you. Yun Yi hurriedly explained. Hearing this, Night Sorrow knew that he had to try his luck. Embarrassed, he immediately told Jing Yun, Wu Lingfei and Yi Zhifei about this matter. The two girls knew that Night Sorrow couldn't miss this opportunity, so naturally, they didn't have any objections. However, Yi Zhifei clamored to leave the eternal ancient desolate world with Night Sorrow. He wanted to go out and see the world. This put Night Sorrow in a difficult position. Chapter 34-32. Because the foggy area was too chaotic, it was hard for Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei to gain a foothold. Not to mention a child like Yi Zhifei. And Night Sorrow had his own matters to attend to, so he had no time to take care of them. It was even more impossible for him to keep them in the space while he was fighting for resources. That would be risking the lives of the entire family. Thus he said, Zhifei, the foggy area is now in complete chaos. Even a half step to the Supreme Realm Master could be killed in a second. It will be very dangerous for you and Mother to go there. Or wait for Father to eliminate the threat there before you go together. Is that all right? At this time, without waiting for Yi Zhifei to speak, Wu Lingfei asked, How are the others? Brother Xiao and Brother Wan are still all right. They have all advanced to half-step extreme realm. But a few days ago, 70 or 80 people from the 2 realms died. Night Sorrow said sadly. Among the cultivators of the 2 realms, there weren't many who had potential, and now so many had died. The dead are gone, don't be sad. But since everyone is fighting, there is no reason for us to stay here. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and said with certainty, We have been hiding here and it is very safe. But the gap between us and everyone is so big. This feeling is very uncomfortable. In fact, She had experienced countless battles. Although she felt happy to stay here with Jing Yun and her son, she always felt a little awkward. It was as if the whole world was separated. After her son expressed his wish, she decided to take him to the outside world. Since you think so, I will bring you to the foggy area. But I can only leave you in the city. Is that okay? After Wu Lingfei finished speaking, Night Sorrow said guiltily. Hearing this, Wu Lingfei smiled and said, "Don't worry, although we are weak now, we can catch up. At worst, we will live if the city dies." All right then. Night Sorrow looked at his son Yi Zhifei and said, "When you get there, cultivate well and become strong quickly. You are more talented than your father, your aunt, and your siblings." Understood. Father. Zhifei will be the strongest in the future. Yi Zhifei said and looked into the distance with anticipation. Since he was born, he had only seen 3 people: Wu Lingfei, Jing Yun and Night Sorrow. Speaking of which, he was a little pitiful. Good. Father believes in you. Night Sorrow said with a smile and asked, "Lingfei, have you told your son about your hometown?" "Some, but some, I'll leave it to you," Wu Lingfei said with a smile. She stood with Jing Yun and looked at Yi Shan. Night Sorrow smiled and said, "Along the way, I will tell you about some of the things that happened in my hometown. Child, remember, no matter where we are, we must remember where we came from." He couldn't forget his roots. Do you understand? Yes, yes. Yi Zhifei made a sound of acknowledgement and asked, "Respected father, can you tell me about your cultivation process? Mother doesn't know about these things." Said. Night Sorrow replied and began to explain his cultivation journey along the way. While talking about these things, he also recalled the years of the past, which could be considered as giving himself a good time to relax. In this relaxed state, he suddenly felt that the power of his divine spirit seemed to have strengthened a lot. However, this kind of good time was short-lived after all. When they reached Gathering Friends City, Night Sorrow brought his wife and child to meet with Xiao Tianxian, Myriad Sword Sect and others. He went to the peak of the Supreme Fruit Tree with Jielin and Bai Wuji. Before they even reached the mountain peak, they had already encountered many powerful cultivators. Needless to say, these people must have locked onto the Supreme Fruit Tree. When they reached the peak of the Supreme Fruit Tree, Night Sorrow found that dozens of people had already gathered here. After observing for a while, Jielin said, "The people who came are all from the various territories now. Most of them are from Lu Tian Academy." Most of them are from Lu Tian Academy. Do you know any of them? Night Sorrow did not activate his divine spirit. He chose to use the sea serpent's eye to observe everyone. A few of them are friends, but most of them are enemies. Most of them are from Nangong He and Andrew's side. After saying that, Jielin looked around vigilantly, wary of being ambushed. Don't be too nervous. Although most of them are from Nangong He and Andrew's side, they are definitely fighting for themselves. As long as they don't swarm up, there won't be any problems. Night Sorrow had already detected that the strongest people here were 3 quasi-extreme realm cultivators, so he still had some confidence in his heart. After all, he had already fought with the Beast King and killed it. Now, the Eternal Divine Tower had absorbed all of its energy and produced 3 quasi-supreme level attacks. "Alright," Jielin replied. She looked around and found that her 3rd-grade half-step quasi-extreme realm cultivation was already the lowest among the people present. At this moment, a team of 4 people suddenly flew over here. The leading female cultivator looked at Jielin with a cold expression and said, "Jielin, I didn't expect you to dare to come here with your strength. Your strength isn't much higher than mine." Jielin glanced at the other party. This was the elder sister of a student from the same batch as her. That student from the same batch had wanted to use force to make her submit, but in the end, she had been killed. Because of this, she had formed a death grudge with this female cultivator in front of her. Hearing this, Hume smiled coldly and said, "When the battle begins, you will understand that you shouldn't have come." After saying that, she didn't make a move and directly flew in another direction. "Are they enemies?" After Hume and the others flew away, Night Sorrow immediately asked. Jielin nodded and said, "They are enemies. This time, I'm afraid I've implicated you." "It's okay." Among the 4 of them, 2 are at the 4th grade of the half-step quasi-extreme realm, and 2 are at the 5th grade. They aren't much of a threat. Night Sorrow said indifferently and then asked, "By the way, when I was in Lu Tian Academy, why didn't I hear that there were so many geniuses in the academy? Back then, weren't there only 33 Star Lords in the middle of the academy? Many of these people are elders. Moreover, their strength has increased in the past few thousand years. You also know that in the past few thousand years, it has become much easier to increase one's strength in the fog area." Jialin explained. "That makes sense. By the way, who are those 3 quasi-extreme realm cultivators?" Night Sorrow pointed at the 3 strongest people present and asked. "They are the 3 vice deans, the 3 genius students who have the most benefits under them," Jialin said. Just as he was about to say their names, someone inside shouted, "It's ripe, the fruit is ripe." Chapter 34-33. It's ripe? The supreme supremacy fruit is ripe? Everyone's attention was attracted by the words. Some of them even went berserk without even checking the situation. They squeezed toward the supreme supremacy fruit tree. In fact, they knew that the supreme supremacy fruit would not ripen at this moment, but they wanted to use this as an excuse to rush in and occupy the advantageous terrain. Many people were displeased by this. After all, there were only 9 supreme supremacy fruits on the supreme supremacy fruit tree. Some of the cultivators who rushed in were attacked by other cultivators before they could even get close to the supreme supremacy fruit tree. A battle immediately broke out when someone attacked. Before Night Sorrow and the others could gain a foothold, they witnessed a chaotic battle in the central area with their own eyes. At this moment, Bai Wuji asked, "Sir, should we take the opportunity to go in too?" They were at the outermost area. If the supreme supremacy fruit ripened now, it would be difficult for the 3 of them to get anything. After observing for a while, Night Sorrow said, "According to my observation, the supreme supremacy fruit will not ripen in a short time. We are not in a hurry. Let's observe for a while before we make further plans. How long until it ripens? I wonder if we can get 1 or 2 supreme supremacy fruits." Jialin looked at the supreme supremacy fruit tree and asked. The 9 supreme supremacy fruits on the tree looked crystal clear. They were no different from divine fruits in the eyes of ordinary people. Judging from the aura, it will take at least 1 or 2 months. I can't tell the exact time. However, no matter what, we must get the supreme supremacy fruit. Night Sorrow said after observing with the sea serpent's eye. If he could get the supreme supremacy fruit, his cultivation would soon reach the 4th grade of the half-step supreme supremacy realm. It would be a huge improvement. As long as he did not encounter the supreme supremacy realm, he should be able to do whatever he wanted in the foggy area. It would be a great advantage for him to snatch the eternal divine tower. Then before Jialin and Bai Wuji could speak, he continued, "I haven't finished speaking. Who are the 3 genius students?" Night Sorrow was still a little wary of the 3 people in front of him. If they joined forces, he would not be a match for them at all with Jialin and Bai Wuji. As for the battle before them, they were not involved because the 3 of them did not move at all and they were too far away. Apart from the 3 experts that Night Sorrow had mentioned, the rest of the people occupied the most advantageous positions. As the scale of the battle gradually expanded, some of the cultivators who were involved in the battle had already come to a realization. That was, the battle in front of them had already escalated to the level of fighting for the advantageous positions. They had basically tacitly agreed that whoever was stronger would be able to occupy the advantageous position. At this moment Jialin said, "Look at that white-robed male cultivator. His name is Chen Xing and he's one of the strongest cultivators in Teacher Ji Xian's faction." The red-robed female cultivator was called Feng Qingshuang. She was Nangong He's last disciple. As for the man with the gloomy look on his face, his name is Sutton. He's Andrew's younger brother. The way I see it, the strength of the 3 of them has already surpassed that of the 3 vice deans. After observing the trio's Night Sorrow, he made his judgment. At least, the last time he saw Nangong He and the others, the 3 of them were not as good as these people in front of him. I'm not sure about that. It's been a while since I've seen the 3 vice deans. He wondered if their strength had changed again. Recently, the strength of cultivators in the foggy area has been increasing rapidly. It seems to have become a common occurrence. Jialin looked at the battle in front of him and said. At this moment, the battle was getting more and more intense. Many people had already fallen in the battle. Moreover, other than the 3 great experts inside and Night Sorrow and the others outside, Everyone else had already participated in the battle. Not a single one was left out. The female cultivator who had provoked Jie Lin just now had already fallen in the battle. This made Jie Lin quite speechless. Originally, he thought that he would fight against Hu Mei. I think that the recent changes in the foggy area should be planned by the three Supreme Venerables. Their goal is to nurture more experts, or even Supreme Venerables, for themselves to devour and increase their strength. The Supreme Venerable fruit in front of us should be the same. Knight Sorrow, who was observing the battle, transmitted his voice to Jie Lin. How could there be such a thing? If the three of them come out of seclusion, they would be invincible in the world. Doesn't that mean that the better the cultivation, the more dangerous it is? Are you sure about this? Jie Lin transmitted his voice in disbelief. Even his thoughts of quickly increasing his strength were affected. I'm basically sure. However, rapidly increasing one's strength is not only accompanied by danger. It may also mean that one can control their own fate. It can't be that as long as they are here, the foggy area will never produce a Supreme Venerable, right? Knight Sorrow transmitted his voice. He knew that Jie Lin's Dao heart would be affected after hearing this, so he immediately comforted him. However, Jie Lin was more tenacious than Knight Sorrow had imagined. She continued, the three of them are the strongest, so they stand at the top of the food chain. If we want to break free from their control, we can only become stronger than them. Nurturing a Supreme Venerable might be their biggest mistake. Every one of them is above the 5th stage of the Supreme Venerable realm. Even if they manage to nurture a Supreme Venerable, it will be difficult for them to pose a threat. This is where the three of them are confident. However, this is indeed our chance. Knight Sorrow said with certainty. If not for the three Supreme Venerables creating all kinds of opportunities in the foggy area, who knew how many years it would take for them to become Supreme Venerables? 5th stage. This is indeed a huge gap. No matter what, let's take one step at a time. If one learns the truth in the morning, one can die in the evening. Even if we become Supreme Venerables, we will be devoured immediately. Then, our cultivation will not be in vain. Jie Lin said with some yearning. There was no cultivator who did not want to break through to the Supreme Venerable realm. That's right. However, I don't think they can do whatever they want. Knight Sorrow said and did not say anything else. Instead, he observed the battle in front of him with Jie Lin and Bai Wuji. He used the sea serpent's eye to observe almost everyone's moves. He was already very confident. Therefore, after the battle in front of them was over and the remaining people had occupied their positions, Knight Sorrow said, Jie Lin, Bai Wuji, follow me. After saying that, he led Jie Lin and Bai Wuji and used his movement technique to fly near the three experts. They were not closer to the Supreme Venerable fruit tree than they were, but they were also not further away. Who are these three people? How dare they challenge the three of them? Aren't they courting death? Seeing Knight Sorrow bring people to where Chen Xing and the others were, everyone was puzzled. If Knight Sorrow and the others had stayed near them just now, these people would have definitely attacked. However, they felt that flying to the territory of the three experts was not something they should be concerned about. Chapter 34-34. Who are you? Is this a place where you can come? Seeing Knight Sorrow bring Jie Lin and Bai Wuji closer, Feng Qingfeng's cold expression changed. Nan Gonghe's disciple, the red-robed female cultivator Feng Qingshuang, immediately scolded with a frosty expression. The coldness she exuded caused some of the cultivators who had just fought to feel a chill in their hearts. They, who were originally standing still, immediately retreated a little, afraid of being implicated. What a powerful aura! What does it have to do with you who I am? Everyone is here to fight for opportunities. If you can come here, why can't I? Knight Sorrow looked at Feng Qingshuang coldly. To him, Nan Gonghe was an enemy, and her disciple was no exception. What big words! I.e., cripple his cultivation for me. A mere third-grade half-step Supreme Realm dares to bark in front of me? Feng Qingshuang said disdainfully and ordered a 5th-grade half-step Supreme Realm female cultivator beside her to attack Knight Sorrow. Yes, senior sister. Hearing this, the female cultivator named Ai immediately took a step forward, preparing to attack Knight Sorrow. At this moment, Bai Wuji blocked her with a cold smile and said, You're not worthy of my lord making a move. Get lost. Ai saw Bai Wuji blocking in front of her and shouted angrily. Then, she waved her sword and stabbed at his position. She was very irritable. The people in the distance couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines. As for Bai Wuji, he didn't take it seriously. In fact, he was similar to Feng Qingshuang. They were both geniuses that Nan Gonghe and Andrew had nurtured. It was obvious that Ai couldn't compare to him. It was just that he was nurtured later than Feng Qingshuang, so his cultivation was lagging behind. Moreover, both sides were under the control of Nan Gonghe and Andrew, so they didn't have much contact with each other. Therefore, Feng Qingshuang didn't recognize Bai Wuji at all. But after Bai Wuji and Ai started fighting, he quickly showed the value of being trained. Although his cultivation was a small level lower, he didn't fall into a disadvantage at all. He even vaguely suppressed Ai. This caused Feng Qingshuang's expression to become extremely ugly. She snorted coldly, "Trash, let me do it." After saying that, he violently attacked Bai Wuji. Step back. Seeing that Feng Qingshuang was about to attack, Night Sorrow shouted and told Bai Wuji to retreat. Then he sent out a palm strike. Boom! Feng Qingshuang's claw struck out. Boom! Feng Qingshuang, who hadn't even used her full strength, was sent flying. How is this possible? Isn't this too amazing? Feng Qingshuang's face was originally frosty. She looked extremely unruly, as if she was impatient to attack. However, he was actually sent flying in an instant. This immediately caused the people who were rushing over to exclaim in surprise. They had never expected that Night Sorrow, a third-grade half-step Supreme Realm cultivator, would be able to send Feng Qingshuang flying. Feng Qingshuang's face darkened as she unleashed an even greater amount of frost energy. He coldly shouted at Night Sorrow, "No matter who you are, you will die here today." Then, he released the power of ice and attacked Night Sorrow with an ultimate technique. Frost Killer Sword. With this move, Feng Qingshuang's primordial qi immediately condensed into 3 ice swords in the void. They shot towards Night Sorrow with earth-shattering might. "You're good at frost energy?" Facing Feng Qingshuang's ultimate technique, Night Sorrow smiled. Then, he suddenly used the essence of the flame core. He used Inferno Demon Subduing. As soon as the Raging Flames Demon Subduing technique was unleashed, flames filled the sky. These flames came from the core of the flame and were obviously not comparable to ordinary flames. After it appeared, it directly melted the 3 ice swords that Feng Qingshuang had shot out. "What? You actually have such a powerful flame?" Yi Shuang had casually neutralized the consummate technique that he had executed. Feng Qingshuang's face darkened. Although she hadn't used her strongest attack just now, she had used at least 70% of her strength. She had thought that Night Sorrow would be killed instantly. She didn't expect to embarrass herself again. Isn't it normal to have this kind of flame? I'll give you a chance to withdraw from the fight for the supreme fruit. Otherwise, I'll kill you today. Night Sorrow saw Feng Qingshuang's surprise and said disdainfully. He secretly activated the Treya Star Ruin's secret art and destruction mystique, adjusting his condition to a stronger level. He was ready to accept Feng Qingshuang's challenge. Through the battle, he judged that Feng Qingshuang's true strength was inferior to that mutated beast king. With such strength, she had no chance of winning against him. "You should die." Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Feng Qingshuang was thoroughly enraged. With a roar, she ignited her frost bloodline. She raised her aura to the strongest. Then, she took out a long sword that emitted a cold light from the void. Once again, she attacked Night Sorrow with an ultimate technique. Ice Frost Sword. This attack wasn't as beautiful as the Frost Killer Sword, but it was clearly much stronger. Starfire Motherchild Spear. Facing this attack, Night Sorrow suddenly attacked with the Starfire Motherchild Spear, clashing head-on with the Frost Killer Sword. He didn't even use the Trap Array or the 100 Words mantra. Thousand Emperor Cauldron, suppress. At that moment, Feng Qingshuang summoned a cauldron in the process of her attack. It pressed down on Night Sorrow from the void. In an instant, Night Sorrow felt his body sink, as if he was about to fall from the void. Interesting. Night Sorrow, who was prepared to fight head-on, instantly ignited his phoenix and scale bloodlines. He increased his strength and stabilized himself in the void. At the same time, he transmitted his voice to Little Fool, "Attack her." Okay. Little Fool nodded. At that moment, he attacked Feng Qingshuang with his Beast King form. With a buzz, it lit up the entire world. This kind of attack gave people the feeling that it was as if a supreme being had attacked. It was quite terrifying. The surrounding spectators all retreated tens of thousands of miles. Feng Qingshuang was surprised. There's such a powerful secret treasure? After thinking for a moment, she controlled the 1,000 Emperor Cauldron to block the attack from the Eternal Divine Tower. Then, she waved her sword and clashed with Night Sorrow. Boom! Boom! After the two explosions, the outcome of the battle between Yi Shang and Feng Qingshuang was decided in an instant. The 1,000 Emperor Cauldron was shattered by the Eternal Divine Tower's full-force attack. Feng Qingshuang was severely injured by Night Sorrow's attack. At the same time that she was injured, her face fell into the trench. She was not in the mood to stay. She used a forbidden technique to escape, not even caring about IE. At this moment Jing Hai, who had been thrown into the Eternal Divine Tower by Night Sorrow, suddenly transmitted his voice. Lord Night Demon, can you leave IE behind so that we can meet? We're old friends. Why should I let you meet? Hearing Jing Hai's words, Night Sorrow immediately said coldly. Chapter 34-35. 1 Second to Remember Love on /U. Reading/book. It's a wonderful free read. Lord Night Demon, if you agree to my request, I swear I'll serve you forever. Jing Hai said again after some thought. He was afraid that if he did not say that, Night Sorrow would kill RE in one hit. In fact, although he had an unclear relationship with Nan Gonghe, he and RE were a couple. The two of them had been childhood sweethearts until today. However, no one, including Nan Gonghe, knew. Oh, you're quite considerate. How about this? If you can persuade her and the two of you serve me, I'll let her go. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice after hearing Jing Hai's words. Jing Hai had been kept in the Eternal Divine Tower, so he was not afraid of him playing any tricks. Jing Hai immediately thanked him. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I'll transmit my voice to her now. All right. Night Sorrow replied and got Xiao to remove the Eternal Divine Tower's speed for Jing Hai. Jing Hai and RE communicated. Soon, RE was persuaded. She bowed slightly to Night Sorrow and said, RE greets Lord Night Demon. Enter the Eternal Divine Tower. Yi Shang nodded slightly and then took RE in. He had subdued her without shedding a drop of blood. Therefore the battle between Night Sorrow and Feng Qingshuang ended with Feng Qingshuang escaping and RE subduing. Everyone present was surprised by this result. Many people began to ask about Night Sorrow's identity. However, whether it was in Lu Tian Academy or the Fog, he had only appeared a few times. Most of the experts present had never met him before, so they naturally did not know him. Therefore, those who knew Jie Lin began to ask about Night Sorrow's name through voice transmissions. When Jie Lin said Night Demon's name, the name that Night Sorrow had casually given him spread through the circle of experts in the Fog. At this moment, one of the three experts, the white-robed man, Xiao Qinxing, clapped his hands and said, Brother, you're really strong. How should I address you? Night Demon. Night Sorrow said casually out of courtesy. Su Sun, who was standing at the side, said, Since you chased Feng Qingshuang away, the 3 pills that belong to her belong to you. At that time, the 3 of us will each get 3 supreme venerable fruits. Do you have any objections? Oh. If each of us gets 3, won't the others have any objections? Hearing this, Yi Shang asked in reply. Hehe. If they dared to have an opinion, they would have stood up like you. Su Sun said disdainfully. At this time, Chen Xing also said, If the 3 of us work together, they definitely won't dare to have any objections. That's why I still need your permission. As for what they wanted, they would have to pay the price in exchange. As a matter of fact, the Supreme Highness fruits are useless to Su Sun and me. They were originally going to be sold. All right, it's decided then. The Supreme Supremacy fruit was extremely important to Night Sorrow, so it was very worthwhile to be able to obtain 3 of them so easily. He thought for a moment and felt that there was no reason to refuse, so he agreed. After the 3 of them had finished discussing, they waited here with peace of mind. As for the other cultivators who were waiting, they didn't dare to step forward. Feng Qingshuang, who had escaped, had never returned. This was the same as Ai's judgment. Ai, who had already sworn to submit to Night Sorrow with Jing Hai, knew everything about Feng Qingshuang. She knew that other than Nangong and Andrew, she wouldn't be able to find any strong backup. She wouldn't rush over to attack Night Sorrow again. It's almost ripe. This time, it's really almost ripe. After waiting for about a month, the supreme venerable fruit suddenly emitted a fragrance. This smell made people feel comfortable all over. Everyone knew that this was the sign that the supreme venerable fruit was about to mature. Everyone was eager to give it a try. Get ready. I want the top 3 later. At this time, the white-robed man looked at the 3 supreme venerable fruits at the top of the supreme tree. A moment later, Su Sun sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. I want the 3 in the middle. You don't have any objections, right? These things all have the same effect. Okay. Night Sorrow replied and asked, if they come to snatch it, shall we attack together? Yes. Those who dare to snatch it will be killed without mercy. Su Sun replied domineeringly. Then, his gaze was completely locked onto the fruit he had chosen. Night Sorrow used his divine sense to check, and found that the 2 of them had indeed locked onto the other 6 supreme venerable fruits. He also locked onto the 3 fruits that they had agreed on. When the fruits ripened, he would immediately take action. Soon. Get ready to attack. Everyone waited for about 20 breaths. The fragrance of the supreme venerable fruit completely bloomed. This was a sign that the fruit had ripened. Immediately, Su Sun and Su Sun flew toward the supreme venerable fruit tree and plucked a fruit. At this time, Night Sorrow tried to pluck the supreme venerable fruit and found that it required a lot of energy. After plucking one, he immediately activated the 33 Heavenly Star Ruins secret combat technique and destruction divine ability. After increasing his strength, he took the 2 fruits that they had agreed on. Night Demon. You're so greedy. We originally agreed that each of us would take 1 and leave the rest to the others. Why did you take 3 for yourself? At this moment Su Sun, who only had 1 supreme venerable fruit in his hand, suddenly looked at Night Sorrow angrily. You really don't care about the rules and act on your own. Everyone, attack together and kill him. After Su Sun finished speaking, Chen Xing also spoke. After they spoke, everyone in the distance immediately flew toward the supreme venerable fruit tree. They were all prepared to attack Night Sorrow. At this time, no matter how stupid Night Sorrow was, he realized that he had been tricked by the 2 of them. He immediately said coldly, you guys are really scheming. Since that's the case, let's go all out. Both of them were quasi-supreme realm. It was very difficult to use the power of merit to see through their words. He couldn't tell that they were lying just now. Seeing the situation now, he knew that he couldn't defend himself. He would definitely be attacked by everyone. He immediately swallowed a supreme venerable fruit and then burned all of his bloodline to attack the supreme venerable fruit tree. He uprooted the supreme venerable fruit tree and put it into his space grotto heaven. After Chen Xing and Su Sun had framed Night Sorrow, they had retreated a distance and kept their distance. Therefore, they didn't have the chance to stop Night Sorrow. They only reacted after he put away the supreme venerable fruit tree. The 2 of them flew into a rage at the same time and each attacked Night Sorrow. What's the point of using probing attacks at a time like this? If you want to fight, just kill. Facing Chen Xing and Su Sun's attacks, Night Sorrow roared and attacked them with the power of ice and fire respectively. Then, he directly shot into the sky and flew above the void. The supreme venerable fruit tree has been uprooted by the Night Demon. Everyone, attack together and kill him. Seeing Night Sorrow fly into the sky, everyone roared and attacked him. Chapter 34-36. Oh my God! Lord Night Demon, you have poked a hornet's nest. By Wuxia, who had already been stored in Night Sorrow's grotto heaven, cried out in alarm. Night Sorrow had snatched the supreme supremacy fruit tree away. He was simply courting death. In fact, Night Sorrow had already fallen into their trap. Even if he hadn't taken the supreme supremacy fruit tree, he still wouldn't have been able to escape the encirclement. However, a few supreme supremacy fruits might have attracted the attention of some people. If you don't do this, you will die even more miserably. Come, Jielin, by Wuxia, Jinghai. Each of you consume a supreme supremacy fruit and see if you can break through quickly. Night Sorrow transmitted his words and gave each of them a supreme supremacy fruit. He hoped that each of them would be able to break through during this crisis. As for IE, who was a half step to the supreme supremacy grade 5, There was no need for her to consume this fruit. This supreme supremacy fruit is good stuff, but I really don't know what to say about consuming it under these circumstances. Jing Hai said helplessly after consuming a supreme supremacy fruit. Anyone who wasn't a fool could tell that they would very likely be beaten to death by the encirclement. Jie Lin said worriedly, "Let us out and we will fight with you. The more people we have, the more power we will have." "Not for now. I already thought of a countermeasure when I snatched the supreme supremacy fruit tree." Knight Sorrow replied before consuming 2 more supreme supremacy fruits. He felt that consuming one wouldn't have any effect at all. Then, as he was surrounded, he threw the 2 supreme supremacy fruits at the crowd chasing after him. Supreme supremacy fruits? 2 of them? Although the crowd still wanted to kill Knight Sorrow when they saw the supreme supremacy fruit appear, they still made a move on the fruit. After all, the supreme supremacy fruit was just a short distance away from them. There was no reason for them not to fight over it. For a moment, the scene was a mess. There were still people attacking Knight Sorrow, but their numbers had decreased significantly. Chen Xing and Su Sun, who didn't care much about the supreme supremacy fruit, quickly chased after Knight Sorrow after neutralizing his 2 attacks. Look, this is the benefit of having more fruits. If he obtained the supreme venerable fruit tree, he would be able to easily shake them off. As for Chen Xing and Su Sun, if it was 1 against 2, I wouldn't be afraid. Just help me deal with their subordinates. Knight Sorrow, who was attacked by many people, was hit at least 10 times when he was running away. His injuries were not light, but he knew that it would not take long for him to recover completely. Therefore, after pulling a certain distance, he began to run with Chen Xing and Su Sun, who wanted to kill him. Not long after, they shook off some of the cultivators behind them. When only Chen Xing and Su Sun were left, Knight Sorrow slowed down slightly. He took them and flew into the distance. To him, being besieged by dozens of 4th and 5th stage half-step Supreme Realm cultivators was still very terrifying. But facing Chen Xing and Su Sun alone was not scary at all. On top of that, while he was running, he had already sensed the mysteries of the Supreme Supremacy Fruit. At this moment, the Supreme Supremacy Fruit had already played a significant role in his body, making him feel that he was getting closer and closer to the 4th stage half-step Supreme Realm. He should be able to successfully advance soon. He thought to himself, as long as I advance to the 4th stage half-step Supreme Realm, even if the cultivators behind me catch up, what can they do? However, Chen Xing and Su Sun did not think about that at all, and continued to chase. They felt that killing a genius like Knight Sorrow was definitely more useful than obtaining the Supreme Supremacy Fruit, so they waited for Feng Qingshuang to be defeated. The 2 of them discussed a strategy to deal with Knight Sorrow. Finally, 2 days later, Knight Sorrow advanced to the 4th stage half-step Supreme Realm ahead of Jie Lin, Bai Wuji, and Jing Hai. When the lightning tribulation of the 4th stage half-step Supreme Realm floated over from the void, Knight Sorrow stopped in the air. While he was undergoing the tribulation, he waited for Chen Xing and Su Sun to arrive. When Chen Xing and Su Sun arrived, Knight Sorrow's lightning tribulation was nearing its end. He sneered at the 2 of them and said, "You 2 are not bad at scheming, but you lack absolute strength." Shameless boasting. Do you think you're invincible after defeating Feng Qingshuang? Let me tell you, we're much stronger than her. The white-robed man, Chen Xing, scolded Knight Sorrow coldly. At the same time, he transmitted his voice to Su Sun. "Summon the others. We'll attack him together. After killing him, we'll split the items." "We'll do as you say." Su Sun replied and summoned 3 cultivators who were at the 5th grade of the half-step Supreme Realm, plus the 2 summoned by Chen Xing. On their side, there were 2 quasi-Supreme Realm cultivators and 5 half-step Supreme Realm cultivators. At this moment Jie Lin said, "Let us go out and fight." Bai Wuji echoed, "That's right, my lord. Let us share your burdens." "Ha! They're not much of a burden at all. But since you want to fight, come out. It'll be good for the upcoming lightning tribulation." Knight Sorrow had already sensed that Jie Lin, Jing Hai, and Bai Wuji were about to advance, so he immediately summoned them and Ai. After being summoned, they started fighting with Chen Xing and Su Sun's subordinates. However, they were clearly weaker than their opponents, so they quickly fell into a disadvantageous position. At this moment, Knight Sorrow, who had completely passed the lightning tribulation, was fighting against Chen Xing and Su Sun after receiving the Heavenly Tao's baptism. He took the time to kill one of their subordinates, so that Jie Lin, Jing Hai, Bai Wuji, and Ai could fight 4 against 4. Although the 4 of them were still struggling, they could barely hold on. Under such circumstances, Knight Sorrow could fight with Chen Xing and Su Sun in peace. Before advancing, his strength was basically on the same level as the 2 of them. After advancing to the 4th stage of the half-step to the Supreme Realm, his strength had increased tremendously, completely surpassing the 2's understanding. Before he could attack, Chen Xing and Su Sun were already unable to hold on. By the time they realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. They didn't even have a chance to escape. Yi Shang had blasted it apart. He didn't show any mercy to the 2 of them who had ulterior motives. After killing them, Knight Sorrow transmitted his voice to Little Fool, absorb them and turn them into energy. As for their divine weapons, leave them to me. Okay. Little Fool responded and absorbed Chen Xing and Su Sun according to Knight Sorrow's instructions. Knight Sorrow began using their divine weapons and secret treasures to strengthen the Golden Heavenly Halberd, Desolation Halberd, and Green Phoenix armor. They were all strengthened to half-step Supreme Realm level. Little Fool said excitedly, Knight Sorrow, since your strength has increased so much, why don't we take back the 1st and 3rd levels? Okay. We'll do as you say. Knight Sorrow said confidently. He had a feeling that he could defeat anyone in this world except for the Supreme Realm. Chapter 34-37. This feeling was not arrogance. Knight Sorrow felt that even if his current attack was not at the level of the Supreme Realm, it would not be too far off. The energy in his body was completely different from when he was at the 3rd stage of the half-step Supreme Realm. Moreover, his body already had an aura that was close to that of the Supreme Realm. It was not the state where the Supreme Realm surpassed the Supreme Realm. While flying towards the 4 major cities in the foggy area, Jie Lin sighed. If I didn't know your cultivation base, I would have thought that you were already a Supreme Realm expert. Haha, it's still early. Although I have the aura and feeling of the Supreme Realm now, there's no chance of winning against a true Supreme Realm expert. The difference between advancing to the Supreme Realm and not advancing to the Supreme Realm is too great. Knight Sorrow said humbly. Now, he had completely focused on dealing with the 3 Supreme Venerables. He knew that the 3 Supreme Venerables were about to come out of seclusion, and everyone's final opponents were the 3 of them. On the way to the 4 major cities in the foggy area, Knight Sorrow had been thinking about a problem. That was, if his strength was already outstanding, would it be necessary to purify all the people in the foggy area? Hide everyone so that no one could devour them after the 3 Supreme Venerables came out of seclusion. Where should I hide everyone? If I hide in some expert's body, all my previous efforts will be wasted if I lose. If I hide somewhere else, I won't be able to stop the 3 Supreme Venerables. It seems that I can only start the battle immediately after they come out of seclusion. If that's the case, then there's no need for Senior Yen Hengshi to continue hiding. After thinking for a while, Knight Sorrow immediately changed his route and went to the Lu Tian Academy to find Yen Hengshi. He told him his idea. It was this trip that allowed him to reassemble his body. Although there was still some time, it was definitely the eve of the final battle. The final battle could erupt at any time. There was no time for him to recover bit by bit. We can do as you say. However, our strength is obviously lower than the 3 Supreme Venerables, and Yen Hengshi did not appear. There's almost no chance of winning against the 3 of them. Yen Hengshi pondered for a while and said. His original plan was to secretly recover his strength in the Lu Tian Academy. After his strength had completely recovered, he would choose to fight again. After all, he was the strongest of the Supreme Paragons back then. Knight Sorrow frowned and said, but if the 3 Supreme Paragons devour all living beings, their strength will definitely increase. Moreover, if everyone dies in battle, even if you kill them all, it will be meaningless. Right now, he was completely sure of the ambitions of the 3 Supreme Venerables. He knew what they would do after coming out of seclusion. Yen Hengshi was not allowed to hide anymore. You're right. I choose to fight alongside you. But for the time being, I can only stay by your side and not attack directly. If I attack outside the endless sea of stars, they will sense it, and the 3 of them will come out immediately. Yen Hengshi explained and continued, so I will hide in your coffin and follow you. All right. This was the only way now. Senior, you've suffered. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he put Yen Hengsher's coffin into the space. At this moment, he suddenly remembered the function of his coffin, which was to completely conceal one's aura. He thought to himself, if I use this coffin to take everyone in, it should have a very good effect of isolating their aura. Before the 3 supreme paragons come out of seclusion, it's best to put everyone I can find into the coffin and let them come out empty-handed. At this moment, he remembered another ancient coffin and the embryonic form of the starry sky. He immediately released his divine soul to investigate. After such an investigation, Night Sorrow was secretly surprised. It turned out that this embryonic form of the starry sky was forming a world. This world was still in the process of being nurtured and was taking shape little by little. He thought to himself, if this world can be completely formed, I may be able to purify everyone and put them into this world. Then, I will put them into the coffin together with this world. At that time, even if Senior Yen Hengsher, Senior Yen, and I all die in battle, the remaining people should have a chance to continue to survive. Thinking of this, Night Sorrow immediately transmitted his voice to Yen Hengsher. Senior, you said that I will put everyone into the coffin and take everyone to hide. Will the 3 supreme paragons not be able to find us? Then we will have time to continue to improve our strength? Your idea is not bad. With the coffin, it is indeed possible. But if the 3 supreme paragons cannot find us, they will definitely destroy this world. There is nowhere for us to hide. You've underestimated those 3 fellows. Yen Hengsher made his own judgment. He knew that although Supremacy Limitless and Supremacy Dan were easy to deal with, Supremacy Annihilation was definitely the craziest one. He could do anything. It was not easy for them to hide. The best choice was to hide everyone and send people to fight the 3 supreme paragons at the same time. That way, they might be able to avoid the impact of the battle. And in this way, they had to win the battle to give everyone a chance to continue living. If they lost, the 3 supreme paragons would dig everyone out no matter what. I understand, Senior. Hearing Yen Hengsher's words, Night Sorrow completely sorted out his thoughts. He knew that their only chance was to defeat the 3 supreme paragons. Then, Night Sorrow brought Yen Hengsher's ancient coffin, Jialin, by Wuji, Jinghai, and Ai to the 3rd divine city in the foggy area. The 3rd floor of the Eternal Divine Tower was in this city. Standing far away from the city, Little Fool could already sense the aura of the 3rd floor. He said excitedly, "It's in there. I can already sense the aura of the 3rd floor." Little Five also echoed, "Yes. I can even sense that he's in the city and hasn't been sucked into any space." Good. Since you can sense it, let's enter the city and find a chance to attack. After receiving confirmation, Night Sorrow immediately prepared to lead everyone into the 3rd city and take back the 3rd floor of the Eternal Divine Tower, as well as Yen Hengsher's skeleton. But at this moment Jinghai, who had already chosen to submit, reminded him, "Lord Night Devil, although you are very strong, I suggest that we don't fight in this city." Is there an expert or a formation in this city that we can't fight against? Hearing this, Night Sorrow looked at Jinghai. Jinghai thought for a moment and said, "I heard from Nangong He that this city was set up by a supreme paragon. There is a supreme paragon level formation. If we fight head-on, we will definitely encounter an extremely fierce attack. It's the same for the first city. Why don't we find Nangong He and Suzei first and take them down? Everything will be much easier." Chapter 34-38. Yes, that made sense. However, in this chaotic world, he didn't know where the 2 of them would be. After listening to Jinghai, Night Sorrow actually felt a little disgusted by his treachery. However, doing this was definitely beneficial to them, so he naturally wouldn't object. According to my estimation, they might not stay in the academy. After all, the formations of the 1st and 3rd city were controlled by them. They were safer than anyone else when they were in the center. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Jinghai continued. At this moment, Ai said with certainty, "I'm not sure about Andrew, but Nangong He is definitely in the 3rd city. Before Feng Qingshuang and I came out, we visited her in the 3rd city. Nangong He is still very difficult to deal with in the 3rd city. Jinghai, do you have a way to lure her out of the city?" After confirming that Nangong He was very likely to be in the 3rd city, Night Sorrow immediately said, It should be very difficult to lure her out, but I can bring everyone to see her. We can launch a sudden attack and control her. In this way what we want will be within our reach. After saying that, he felt that he was being too heartless. After thinking for a while he continued, in fact, I hate Nangonghe very much. I won't explain the specific reason to you. Alright. Let's enter the Eternal Divine Tower. Bring the Eternal Divine Tower with you. After Jinghai finished speaking, Night Sorrow said in a deep voice. Then, he entered the Eternal Divine Tower without hesitation. To them, time was the most precious thing. They couldn't waste it at all. Night Sorrow felt that no matter what, he had to advance to the Supreme Realm before the 3 Supreme Realm experts reappeared. This way, he could join forces with Yen Hengshi and Yen Jizun and find the new leak in Jizun. Perhaps they would have a chance of winning. Otherwise, the chance of winning was too slim. The 3 Supreme Realm experts would definitely surpass the 5th grade of the Supreme Realm. They were like mountains pressing down on his heart. Everyone, don't worry. I have a grudge against Nangonghe. I was just pretending to be polite in front of her. I definitely won't betray her. After tying the Eternal Divine Tower to his waist, Jinghai promised and walked into the 3rd city step by step. Following Ai's instructions, he went to Nangonghe's residence. Not long after, he arrived outside the palace where Nangonghe lived. He transmitted his voice to Nangonghe, telling her a secret code that only the 2 of them knew. Not long after, Jinghai transmitted his voice to the people in the Eternal Divine Tower, she responded. She asked me to go to her bedroom. Tell him I'll be right there. After Night Sorrow got Pure Sea to reply, he observed Nangonghe's sleeping quarters from within the Eternal Divine Tower. He discovered that there were indeed runes that he could not see through, and he determined that they were paramount runes. So he said, we must find a good opportunity to attack later. Don't give her a chance to open the array. Don't worry, I have a way to deal with her, Jinghai said confidently. As he replied to Nangonghe, he slowly walked into her palace. After entering, Jinghai realized that there were no outsiders in the palace. He smiled. He transmitted his voice. As I expected, she put away all her subordinates. At this moment, Ai reminded him, don't give the game away. When she said this, there was a trace of anger on her face. Obviously, she knew about the affair between Jinghai and Nangonghe, and she was very jealous. Don't worry, I won't make any mistakes today. I will kill Nangonghe. Jinghai, who knew what Ai was thinking, suddenly made a promise as he walked in. He did not want the harem to be on fire. But just as he finished speaking, Nangonghe's figure appeared in front of everyone. Seeing Jinghai's return, Nangonghe smiled and said, come in. With that, she turned and walked into the pavilion that had been set up with an array to isolate everyone from probing. After entering the pavilion, Nangonghe's expression became much more charming. Where have you been all this time? I thought you had died with by Wuxia and Wuxia. We followed your instructions and followed the night demon to the Sea of Sunday. We fought with him but were not his match. But at the critical moment, I gave up on the 2 of them and escaped. But when I returned to the Lu Tian Academy, I did not find you. Jinghai heard Nangonghe's words and judged that Wuxia had not returned after escaping, so he lied. In fact, even if Nangonghe did not say this, Jinghai could judge that Wuxia had not returned. After all, his relationship with Nangonghe was tacitly understood by Wuxia and by Wuxia. If he died and Wuxia returned alone, she would definitely be punished by Nangonghe. Therefore, she would not return no matter what. It's good that you are back. Recently, the fog area has not been peaceful. You can stay here with me. As for the night demon, I will find a chance to kill him personally. Nangonghe said and went to untie Jinghai's belt. At this time, Jinghai said coldly, I'm afraid you will never have the chance to kill the night demon. What did you say? After Jinghai said this, Nangonghe immediately became vigilant. However, it was already too late for her to realize what was going on. At this time, Night Sorrow and the others had already come out of the Eternal Divine Tower, and Bai Wuji had already used the Boundless Heaven-Shaking Bell. Nangonghe was immediately paralyzed by the Boundless Heaven-Shaking Bell's attack. She had lost her soul because of the secret treasure she had given Jinghai. She was quite miserable. Then, Ai took out her sword and slashed Nangonghe's dantian, directly crippling her. She was quite fierce and did not give Nangonghi any chance to react. By the time she recovered, she had completely lost the ability to resist. Seeing Jinghai by Wuji and IE all submit to Night Sorrow, Nangonghi was so angry that she spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. She glared at them for a long time before looking at Jinghai and saying, "Jinghai, in the end, I did not suspect you. You are really good." At this time, Jinghai said coldly, "Don't talk nonsense. If you want to live, you have to help us close the Supreme Formation in the city." "Ha ha ha. Do you think I am still afraid of death when I am already like this?" Hearing Jinghai's words, Nangonghi smiled coldly and roared, "But I will take you with me even if I die." After roaring, she released her soul and used all her strength to kill Jinghai. Nangonghi died on the spot, and Jinghai did not survive. Ai looked at them with a gloomy expression for a while, then sighed and did not say a word from beginning to end. At this time, Little Fool suddenly said, "If you want to control the formation left behind by the Supreme Master, it is impossible without the Supreme Master's token. Hurry up and search him. : Chapter 34-39. They opened the outer array and rushed into the sacred ground. "Who goes there? How dare you barge into my ultimate supremacy sacred ground?" As soon as the four of them entered the sacred ground, a cold and angry voice came from inside. "Follow me and kill." Feeling the powerful auras around them, Jielin knew that he had to help Night Sorrow attract their attention. With a roar, he led by Wuji and IE into battle with the first group of cultivators who had arrived. Among the first batch of cultivators, there were 2 5th-grade half-step to the Supreme Realm, 5 ordinary half-step to the Supreme Realm, and a few heavenly sovereigns. After they rushed over, Jielin and the others discussed with each other and fought with them. Because both sides were about the same level of strength, they were soon in a stalemate. At this time, Night Sorrow took the opportunity to come to the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower to purify it. However, at that moment, the statue of Venerate Extreme Destruction suddenly shouted, "How dare you, kid!" Although Supremacy Mia's statue did not move, the words it uttered were a very powerful spiritual attack. After the attack, it was as if all the water in the world was poured into Night Sorrow's ears, making him feel very uncomfortable. "It's just a statue. What are you so arrogant for?" At this time, Night Sorrow directly activated all his skills and raised his strength to the peak. As he roared, he completely dispelled the statue's spiritual attack. Then, he forcefully purified the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower. However, he was met with strong resistance from the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower. The strength displayed by the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower was comparable to that of the other 8 levels combined. It was still very difficult to deal with. The two sides were in a stalemate for about 20 breaths, and Night Sorrow did not succeed in subduing it. At this time, the second batch of experts from the sacred ground arrived. Among these experts, some continued to rush toward Jielin and the others, while some charged toward Night Sorrow. Seeing that Jielin and the others were about to be unable to hold on, Yi Shang roared loudly, "I'll help all of you." He temporarily gave up on fighting on the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower and charged toward Jielin and the others, attacking the experts from the sacred ground. At this moment, he was basically the strongest person below the Lamita realm. Under his attacks, the 2 groups of people from the Holy Land who had rushed over to help were quickly killed. However, at this moment, Mieji's statue suddenly stood up and attacked Night Sorrow. The first level of the Eternal Divine Tower also cooperated with its attack. At this time, Night Sorrow pulled away from Jielin and the others and said, "Little fool, you fight against the first floor first. We will deal with Venerable Mie's statue." "Good. He's only at the first level. No matter how powerful he is, he shouldn't be able to crush us." Little Fool replied and entered a stalemate with the first floor. Yi Shan, on the other hand, led Jielin and the others in attacking Supremacy Mia's statue. However, the defensive power of the sovereign statue was quite astonishing. When they attacked it, they couldn't break its defense at all. Chapter 34-40. Forget it. Everyone, enter my space and let this statue come at me. After attacking the statue for a while, Night Sorrow found that it didn't have much effect. He immediately sent a voice transmission to everyone. Then, he kept Jielin, Bai Wuji, and i.e. into his space. Then, he resisted the attacks of the statue and attacked the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower again. Although there was only one level of the Eternal Divine Tower, it was very difficult to deal with. With Knight Sorrow's power of virtue, forcefully using it was not very effective. With the interference of the statue, he really couldn't do anything to it for a while. If this drags on, Andrew might activate the Supreme Formation. Little fool, use your strongest attack. I will do the same. Let's take it down first. After the two sides were in a stalemate for a while, Knight Sorrow immediately sent a voice transmission to Little Fool. He wanted him to use the quasi-supreme attack that the Eternal Divine Tower had already prepared. He didn't care if he would damage the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower and suddenly increased his strength to the maximum. He shot out the Starfire Mother-Child Spear. The power of the star ruins and the power of the flames blasted towards the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower at the same time. At the same time, he also used the Divine Essence Trapping Array, the Merit Trapping Array, and the Defense Technique. Sigh. He had no choice but to use his trump card. This feeling is really uncomfortable. It's as if I'm attacking myself. Little Fool, who also had no choice, sighed and cooperated with Knight Sorrow to launch a fierce attack on the first level. Facing the strongest attack of Knight Sorrow and the Eternal Divine Tower's main body, there was nothing he could do about the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower. But at this moment, the statue of extreme destruction teleported in front of him just as he was about to be hit. It helped the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower block the attacks of Knight Sorrow and Little Fool. Not only did the statue of Supremacy Mie not shatter after blocking the two attacks, it even revealed a faint smile. Not good. Yi Shang frowned when his attack was blocked by the statue of extreme annihilation. However, he didn't stop attacking. He and the main body of the Eternal Divine Tower once again attacked the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower. However, their attacks were unable to pose any threat to the first floor of the Eternal Divine Tower due to the interference of the statue. On the contrary. Furthermore, he was continuously attacked. For a moment, he was in great danger. At this time, Little Fool transmitted his voice. Knight Sorrow, this is not the way to go. I'm afraid we'll end up being left here. There is indeed such a possibility, but if we can't take it down this time, we won't have another chance in the future. Knight Sorrow, who was locked in a stalemate with the first floor of the Eternal Divine Tower and Exalt Mie's statue, continued to think of a countermeasure. But he couldn't think of any solution at all. The only reason was that the statue of Supremacy Mie was too difficult to deal with. His defense was definitely at the level of a Lemeter. Insolent Night Demon. How dare you cause trouble in the first city? Take him down. At this moment, the alarmed Andrew had already brought his people to the Holy Land. When he saw that it was Knight Sorrow, he immediately ordered. He ordered his subordinates to attack Knight Sorrow and the Eternal Divine Tower together with the first floor of the Eternal Divine Tower and the statue of Exalt Annihilation. As for himself, he used the ring in his hand to completely activate the array formation of the Supreme Realm. When the array formation was activated, Andrew also joined the battle to kill Knight Sorrow. After such a battle, Knight Sorrow discovered that although Andrew's cultivation was at the quasi-supreme realm, the strength of his attacks was not inferior to that of a Lemeter. He was very powerful. Compared to him, he was only slightly weaker. With this kind of strength, if it was a one-on-one battle with him, he would definitely be killed. However, with the help of the statue and the first floor of the Eternal Divine Tower, as well as the cooperation of the others, the battle was still very sharp. Very soon, Knight Sorrow and the Eternal Divine Tower were suppressed. Under such circumstances, Knight Sorrow transmitted his voice to the Eternal Divine Tower. I'm afraid our operation today has failed. Let's find an opportunity to leave. There's no need to leave. We have a way to successfully fuse with the Eternal Divine Tower. At this moment, Little Fool suddenly said confidently. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow asked in confusion, if there's such a method, why didn't you use it just now? Because after using this method to fuse with the Eternal Divine Tower, we will all disappear and fuse with a new artifact spirit. In the future, there will be no Little Fool, Little 5, or Little 7. We will all lose our independent divine souls. Little Fool said. Without waiting for Knight Sorrow to react, he used the forbidden secret technique of the Eternal Divine Tower. He forcefully fused with the first floor of the Eternal Divine Tower. After fusing together, the Eternal Divine Tower emitted an extremely dazzling light. Then, It suddenly trembled in the void. It was as if they were fighting. You want to fuse with an ultimate divine artifact? It won't be that easy. Seeing the eternal divine tower fuse together, the statue of extreme destruction suddenly said this and flew up to collide with the eternal divine tower in the void. Facing this collision, the eternal divine tower, which was struggling non-stop, did not dodge and was directly sent flying. Bastard! You think you're so great just because you're the statue of extreme destruction? Seeing the statue of extreme destruction send the eternal divine tower flying, Knight Sorrow, who was already feeling uncomfortable because of Little Fool's words, was completely furious. He suddenly launched an attack on the statue of extreme destruction. However, his attack still did not cause any damage to the statue. The statue of extreme destruction was continuously attacked by Knight Sorrow. He sneered, "You don't have the ability to break through my defense. It's better for you to surrender." Surrender without a fight? You're dreaming. Knight Sorrow, who was surrounded, was sent flying by Andrew while attacking the statue of extreme destruction. However, he was not seriously injured. After getting up, he used the trapping formation triple combo and the Starfire Sun and Mother Spear on Andrew. If this move landed on Andrew's body normally, even if it couldn't kill him, it would definitely severely injure him. But this time, it was blocked by the statue of extreme destruction. This made Yishang completely enraged. He sneered, "Can't you block it? I'll let you block it again." Then, he summoned the ancient coffin that was giving birth to a world and smashed it toward the statue of extreme destruction. At this moment, the statue of extreme destruction still didn't take Knight Sorrow's attack seriously. Naturally, it didn't dodge. However, after being hit this time, the head of the statue was suddenly shattered. What? How could this be? Seeing this scene, Andrew was so scared that his pupils suddenly constricted. He was so shocked that he was almost speechless. The other cultivators were the same. They didn't expect Knight Sorrow to be able to smash the head of the statue of extreme destruction. After a moment of silence, Andrew roared, "Night Demon, you disgraceful thing, how dare you damage the statue of the Dean? Today, I will expel you from the Heaven Slaughtering Academy." Chapter 34-41. The fog area has already developed to such a state, and you're still talking about the Lu Tian Academy? Isn't it ridiculous? Hearing that Andrew was going to expel him from the Lu Tian Academy, Knight Sorrow immediately revealed a trace of a cold smile. There was no order in the fog area in front of him, and the Lu Tian Academy had become a decoration. Hee. If you know what it means to be expelled from the academy, you definitely won't continue to say that. Andrew roared and said crazily, "I'll tell you now. Those who are expelled will have to withstand an attack from the Supreme Venerable." After roaring, he took out a token and carved Knight Sorrow's name, appearance, and aura on it. After he finished carving, the token immediately turned into a blurry figure. This blurry figure gave off an extremely powerful feeling. With a slight perception, one could determine that he was at the Supreme Venerable level. 3 breaths after the figure appeared, he suddenly looked at Knight Sorrow and said, "Is it you?" Die. Then, he launched an attack at the Supreme Venerable level towards Knight Sorrow. Oh my god, this is a true Supreme Venerable level attack. What should we do? White Wuji, who was in the air, immediately cried out in alarm after the figure launched an attack. Ai's expression also became very ugly. To them, an attack at the Supreme Venerable level was simply too terrifying. Don't panic. If he can only attack at this level, I can barely block it. At this moment, Knight Sorrow said confidently and completely activated all the states that he could activate. Moreover, he burned all his bloodline. The Supreme Venerable's attack blasted out the Starfire Mother Sun Spear. Then, he set up the Divine Essence Trapping Array, the Merit Trapping Array, and the Defense Technique beside him. Haha, with just you, a 4th grade half-step Supreme Realm Warrior, you want to block the attack of a Supreme Venerable head-on? You really don't know life from death. Seeing that Knight Sorrow didn't choose to dodge and directly took the attack of the Supreme Venerable, Andrew immediately mocked. So what if you're a Supreme Venerable? At this moment, Knight Sorrow roared and completely collided with the attack of the Supreme Venerable. After an instant, Knight Sorrow's defense was basically all broken, and he was directly sent flying. The Azure Phoenix battle armor on his body had been torn apart, and his body was covered with wounds. Furthermore, The remaining power of the extreme Exalted's attack began to corrode his body through his wounds. It made him look very miserable. However, Yi Shang was actually chuckling right now. This Supreme Venerable's attack is only a zo. Then, he activated the Leaken power and the power of virtue to purify the attacks of the Supreme Monarchs. His wounds began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. What? You already have the ability to resist an extreme paragon. Seeing the scene in front of him, Andrew immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. He immediately prepared to flee. He was afraid that Knight Sorrow would still be alive after Extreme Supremacy's figure was depleted. If that happened, he would be in trouble. Trying to escape? Where can you run to? Knight Sorrow didn't immediately chase after him. Instead, he locked onto his aura and continued to fight with the Supreme Being. He realized that he could comprehend a lot of things in the process of withstanding the Supreme Venerable's attack. This was very beneficial for cultivation. After that, he continued to fight with the Supreme Being. During the battle, Knight Sorrow suffered countless heavy injuries, but he was able to recover every time. The strength of his body was gradually increasing as he adapted to this level of attack bit by bit. Even when the Eternal Divine Tower completely formed a new soul, Knight Sorrow didn't ask him to help him. Supreme Venerate's figure only had the will to kill. He only wanted to kill Yi Shang, so he kept attacking. Little did he know that he had become a powerful sparring partner. Knight Sorrow suffered heavy injuries time and time again. In the process of recovering, his body was getting closer and closer to perfection. Only now did he completely understand how powerful the bloodline of the Supreme Being was. This kind of heaven-defying recovery ability was simply a sharp weapon to increase the strength of his body. In this state he fought for about 3 years. Knight Sorrow felt that his body had already surpassed the 5th grade of the half-step Supreme Realm, and was almost at the level of the Supreme Being. At this moment, he should be completely immune to attacks below the Supreme Being level. As for the attacks of the Supreme Being, they basically didn't cause any damage to him. He immediately sent a voice transmission to the Eternal Divine Tower that had just formed the soul of the weapon spirit. Convert it into energy. I want to use it to advance to the 5th grade of the half-step Supreme Realm. At the same time, he sent a stream of merit power to the Eternal Divine Tower to purify the remaining trace of dark aura. Okay. Knight Sorrow. This time, the voice that responded to Knight Sorrow sounded very similar to Little 2, Little 5, and Little 7, but it was a fusion of them. This voice gave him a sense of familiarity. Then, the Eternal Divine Tower directly absorbed the Supreme Being's shadow and converted it into energy. While waiting for the Eternal Divine Tower to convert the Supreme Being's shadow into energy, Knight Sorrow tracked down Suzai's aura and killed Suzai and the shadows behind him. Then, he took out all the bones of the Supreme Being from the 1st to 4th cities in the foggy area. He gathered all the bones of Yen Hengshi and sent them into the ancient coffin, allowing his soul and bones to fuse together. Yen Hengshi, who was recovering in the ancient coffin, recovered to the 5th grade of the Supreme Realm. This was not his peak, but he still needed time to recover to a higher level. After communicating with Yen Hengshi, Knight Sorrow began to absorb the energy of the Supreme Being's shadow in the 100-fold space of the Eternal Divine Tower. Using the 100,000 years in the Eternal Divine Tower, which was equivalent to 1,000 years in the outside world, he successfully advanced to the peak of the 5th grade of the half-step Supreme Realm. He was only 1 step away from the Supreme Being. At this time, Knight Sorrow sent a voice transmission to Yen Hengshi and asked, "Senior, what do I need to do to advance to the Supreme Being level?" There are 2 ways. One is to comprehend the Tao of the Supreme Being yourself, and the other is to absorb the energy of other Supreme Beings. From this energy, you can comprehend the true essence of the Supreme Being. Yen Hengshi explained to Knight Sorrow through voice transmission. After he finished explaining, Knight Sorrow said, "Now, my body already has the strength of the Supreme Being. It's the same in terms of strength. The only thing I'm missing is the last step of enlightenment. How could he achieve an epiphany faster? Senior. If you want to achieve enlightenment faster, the best way is to fight the Supreme Being. In a life-and-death situation, you can successfully stimulate all your potential. Only in this way can you surpass the limit." After Yen Hengshi finished, he continued, "As for the next step, what you need to do depends on what you think. The next step is to find a new Leaken Supreme. After finding him, I'll go find Yen Supreme. Finally, I'll purify all the cultivators in the foggy area and the two worlds and hide them in the ancient coffin. I'll wait patiently for the battle with the three supreme beings. Yi Shang enunciated each word clearly. He calculated and confirmed that the three supreme beings were about to come out of seclusion. There was not much time left for him. Chapter 34-42. There wasn't much time left for the world. Hearing Night Sorrow's arrangement, Yen Hengshi pondered for a moment and said, "It's been hard on you. You have far less time than us. As a result, you're still one level away from improving your strength crazily. Even if you can advance to the Supreme Venerable before they come out of seclusion, there will be a big gap between you and the 5th grade and above. Let's see if the new Leaken Extreme Venerable and you can fight one of them together." He knew that even if Night Sorrow advanced to the Supreme Venerable, Yen Jizuan appeared. The three of them had a slim chance of winning against the three Supreme Venerables with their strength. But if he and Yen Jizuan fought one Supreme Venerable each, Night Sorrow and the new Leaken Extreme Venerable joined forces to fight one Supreme Venerable, then there might be a chance to turn things around. I only hope that the junior mentioned by Senior Leaken has successfully advanced and can fight side by side with us. After Yi Shang said this, he led the group in the direction revered Leaken had pointed out. It took about 15 years for them to come to a new world. This world was about the same size as the Eternal Supreme World, but the aura was stronger. The general strength of the cultivators was also stronger than that of the Eternal Supreme World and the Eternal Ancient Desolate World. Releasing the power of his spirit and casually probing, Night Sorrow found that there were 3 or 4 half-step Supreme Venerable existences within a radius of 1,000,000 miles. A friend from afar has come. What's the matter? Just as Night Sorrow released his spirit to investigate, a voice suddenly appeared in the void. Then, a cultivator who looked almost exactly the same as Leaken Extreme Venerable appeared in the void. His aura was stronger than Night Sorrow's, but weaker than Yen Hengshi's. Night Sorrow observed with a sea serpent's eye and confirmed that he was a 2nd-grade Supreme Venerable. He was relieved. He knew that Leaken Extreme Venerable didn't lie to him. The world he was in had indeed produced another Supreme Venerable. So he said, "It was Leaken Extreme Venerable who asked me to find you and fight the 3 Supreme Venerables with us in the fog. He asked you to come. What proof do you have?" Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the new Leaken Extreme Venerable, Lang Wanjun, asked. "My bloodline is the proof." Night Sorrow stood in the void and released his Leaken bloodline. At this moment, the figure of Leaken supremacy suddenly appeared in the void. He looked at Lang Wanjun with gratification and said, "Wanjun, I am very gratified that you were able to become an extreme paragon." "Master!" Lang Wanjun shouted excitedly when he saw werewolf supremacy in the sky. "Sigh. Master has already fallen and died in the fog." Right now, the 3 supreme monarchs in the misty area were plotting something big. They wanted to devour everything they went to and everyone they saw. "You must join forces with Night Sorrow and kill them all," Renlang Extreme Exalt said with a heavy heart. In fact, he had transformed into the Leaken bloodline and entered Night Sorrow's body. He was equivalent to a witness to the entire matter. "What is the strength of the 3 Supreme Venerables you mentioned?" Lang Wanjun and the others immediately asked after Lang Jizuan finished speaking. Before this, he had never thought that there would be so many Supreme Paragons in the world. The 3 of them should be at or above the 5th grade of the Lamita realm. However, we also have 2 experts at or above the 5th grade on our side. When the time comes, we will have a chance to win as long as we can fight against one of the Supreme Venerables together. Night Sorrow said according to his and Yen Hengshi's judgment. "Fighting against a Supreme Venerables at or above the 5th grade together with you. Isn't this a joke?" Hearing this, Lang Wanjun looked at Night Sorrow and said with a frown. Obviously, he felt that Night Sorrow was only at the peak of the 5th grade of the half-step Supreme Venerables. There was still a huge gap between him and the Supreme Venerables. He felt that it was equivalent to asking him to fight against a Supreme Venerables at or above the 5th grade. It was completely suicide. There is still some time before the final battle. I will successfully advance to the Supreme Venerables during this time. Night Sorrow knew what Lang Wanjun was worried about and said immediately. Hearing this, Lang Wanjun continued to ask, "How long before the battle with the 3 Supreme Venerables?" "About 1,000 years, but I have 100 times time acceleration. That means I have about 100,000 years to advance." Knight Sorrow thought for a while and said to Lang Wanjun. As soon as he said this, Lang Wanjun's face suddenly became extremely ugly. He snorted coldly. You have the confidence to advance in 1,000 years? Take a step back. Even if you advance, your cultivation will only be at the 1st grade of the Supreme Venerables. Can you withstand a blow from a 5th grade Supreme Venerables? I really don't have the confidence to withstand a blow from 3 Supreme Venerables. But we have to try and see if we can defeat them. Let's return peace to the world. We can't just give up resisting and let them devour the entire world. Yi Shang said with a heavy heart. To be honest, he didn't have the slightest confidence to fight against 3 Supreme Venerables. But he definitely didn't want to give up and let those 3 slaughter the world. Forget it. Rather than cooperate with you, I might as well choose to submit to those 3. After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, Lang Wanjun looked at Lekan Supreme Venerables and said, Master, the 3 people you mentioned are so terrifying. I can't fight against them. See you later. After saying this, he flew away decisively. He didn't have the intention to continue communicating with Knight Sorrow. Wanjun, you're confused. Those 3 are different from what you think. They won't accept submission. They will only devour you to increase their strength. Seeing Lang Wanjun flying into the distance and disappearing in the blink of an eye, the Lekan Supremacy's illusory figure called out earnestly. But Lang Wanjun didn't have the intention to turn back. This made him extremely disappointed. Knight Sorrow and Yen Hengshi were also disappointed. At this time, Lekan Supreme Venerables said somewhat guiltily, Sigh, what a rebellious disciple. The heavy responsibility of saving the world can only be left to the few of you. People who walk different paths can't work together. He doesn't know what kind of existence the 3 Supreme Venerables are. It's understandable that he doesn't want to cooperate with us and wants to be a local tyrant. Knight Sorrow knew that Lang Wanjun was afraid of the 3 Supreme Venerables. Secondly, he felt that the 3 Supreme Venerables might not appear here. Rather than taking the initiative to fight them, it was better to pin his hopes on the 3 Supreme Venerables not coming. Let's proceed to the next step. At this time, Yen Hengshi comforted him. There will be a way when the car reaches the mountain. If this path doesn't work, we'll think of another way. The best way is for me to quickly increase my strength and become strong enough to fight against one of the 3 Supreme Venerables. Knight Sorrow looked at the void and said while leaving Lang Wanjun's realm. Now that he couldn't rely on external forces, he could only rely on himself. Then, he took Yen Hengshi and the others directly back to the Eternal Supreme Realm that was in complete chaos. He was ready to wipe out all the foreign races and find the whereabouts of Yen Hengshi. For this trip, he brought everyone in the Night Demon territory into the Eternal Divine Tower. He didn't give the 3 Supreme Venerables a chance to harm his family and friends. Chapter 34-43. Being brought back to the familiar Eternal Supreme Realm by Knight Sorrow, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix was very excited at first. But when they finally arrived, their eyes dimmed. Because the Eternal Supreme Realm had been beaten to a pulp, and there were not many territories that were still in good condition. Everywhere was filled with smoke signals. Until today, countless races that had suddenly appeared were still fighting. He didn't know if they were here to fight for resources, or if they just wanted to kill. Supreme Ancestor Phoenix couldn't help but curse. These damned beasts should all be killed. Yes, we came back to kill them all. Even if the Eternal Supreme Realm has been destroyed, it shouldn't be occupied by them. Knight Sorrow said coldly, standing on the starship. He hated these culprits who had destroyed the Eternal Supreme Realm as much as Supreme Ancestor Phoenix. After communicating with the others, he led them from the border between the Eternal Supreme Realm and the foggy area and began to sweep all the way. From the beginning, they killed all the demons that had appeared in the Eternal Supreme Realm. Knight Sorrow and the others treated all of them equally, and that was an absolute sweep. And in the process of sweeping through the alien races, Knight Sorrow's power of virtue had been constantly rising, and it was about to catch up with his cultivation base, which made him feel very surprised. He wondered if he could walk the path of Tao affirmation through virtue. Although his power of virtue had been suppressed by his cultivation base after arriving in the Eternal Supreme Realm. But at this critical moment, he might have to rely on virtue to affirm his Tao affirmation. After sweeping through half of the Eternal Supreme Realm, Knight Sorrow and the others encountered powerful opponents. These opponents turned out to be the 9 terrifying creatures he had seen in the sarcophagus in the world of gold. Among the 9 terrifying creatures, 1 had now advanced to the Supreme Realm. The other 8 were all at the peak of the 5th stage of the half-step Supreme Realm. With such strength, and without Yen Hengshu's help, Night Sorrow, Jie Lin, and the others were not easy to deal with. After the encounter, the Supreme Venerable Resentful Dragon of the 9 terrifying creatures recognized Night Sorrow immediately. He said coldly, "I didn't expect an ant like you to have reached such a realm. However, your path will be cut off today." This could be the karma that had been planted that day. In front of the Supreme Sovereign, you are all ants. Ants? Not necessarily. Today, I will take back my home from your hands. Don't think that you're invincible just because you've become a Supreme Paragon. In the face of the Supreme Resentful Dragon, Night Sorrow didn't back down at all. Now that he had returned, he was going to lead everyone to wipe out the outsiders who were wreaking havoc in the Eternal Paragon world. Now that he had taken back the Eternal Paragon world, none of the 3 Supreme Paragons could devour it. Ha ha ha. You want to challenge the Supreme Sovereign? What a joke. The Supreme Resentful Dragon sized up Night Sorrow and laughed in disdain. Then he said, "Old 9, you go and meet him. Big Brother will hold the fort for you." "Yes, boss." The one called Old 9 was a monster with the body of a python and the head of a woman. His aura was one of the stronger ones among the 5 half-step Supreme Realm cultivators. She responded and flicked her cold snake tongue at Night Sorrow. When she flicked her tongue out, it was 10,000 feet long and looked very evil. At this moment, Night Sorrow shook his head and said, "Why don't you all come at me together? It's boring to die one by one." "How arrogant of you. You're courting death." The female cultivator who flicked her tongue roared in anger and attacked Night Sorrow with her tongue. As she attacked, her long forked tongue split into millions of strands and swarmed towards Yishan. Night Sorrow naturally didn't care about such an attack. He raised his hand and hit the female cultivator with a broken void palm, directly killing her and turning her into virtuous energy. What? Old 9 was killed by a cultivator of the same level with a single hit? What's going on? Seeing that Night Sorrow killed the female cultivator with a single hit, the remaining 8 outsiders were all shocked. The Supreme Venerate Resentment Dragon yelled furiously, "Kill them all!" After he finished speaking, he unleashed a ferocious attack on Yishang. After all, he was a Lamiter, so his attacks were different from those of ordinary cultivators. Yishang immediately felt an unprecedented amount of pressure when he was attacked. It was completely different from the feeling brought by the Supreme Venerable figure. Soon, he was suppressed by the furious Supreme Venerable Resentment Dragon. While being attacked crazily, Night Sorrow gradually got used to this rhythm. In the beginning, he was in a very sorry state when he was attacked by the Supreme Venerable Resentment Dragon. However, after gradually getting used to it, he completely reversed the passive situation and gradually became evenly matched. At this moment, the Supreme Venerable Resentment Dragon completely realized that although Night Sorrow's cultivation hadn't reached the Supreme Venerable level, his true strength was no different from in Supreme Venerable. Gradually, he unleashed his most powerful attack. However, the Supreme Venerable Resentment Dragon soon realized that no matter how powerful his attack was, he couldn't kill Night Sorrow. Every time he was heavily injured, Night Sorrow could always use his powerful Leaken bloodline to recover. He immediately became confused. How can there be such a powerful cultivator half a step to the Supreme Venerable in this world? This is impossible. If you don't have any other tricks up your sleeve, it's my turn. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who realized that the Supreme Venerable Resentment Dragon had no other tricks up his sleeve, was slightly disappointed because the other party didn't force him to his limit and didn't succeed in advancing to the Supreme Venerable level. Then, with the cooperation of the Eternal Divine Tower, he launched a frenzied attack on the Supreme Venerable Resentment Dragon. In the beginning, the Supreme Venerable Resentment Dragon could still resist. However, as time passed, not only did Night Sorrow casually kill the other exotic beasts, he even forced him into a dead end. Under such circumstances, the Supreme Venerable Resentment Dragon, who had no other choice, couldn't help but beg for mercy. "Don't kill me. As long as you let me go, I'll choose to submit. With your strength, it's useless even if you submit." Night Sorrow, who had already figured out the Supreme Venerable Resentment Dragon's strength, knew that he was no match for the 3 Supreme Venerables. He killed him with a wave of his hand and turned him into a large amount of power of virtue. After absorbing the power of virtue, Knight Sorrow's power of virtue completely caught up with his cultivation. He also reached half a step to the Supreme Venerable level. After the power of virtue stabilized, Knight Sorrow once again led the others to sweep through the Eternal Supreme World. This time, it took about 100 years for them to completely wipe out all the foreign races in the Eternal Supreme World. After cleaning up the Eternal Supreme World, Knight Sorrow began to lead the others back to the foggy area to purify the cultivators there. The process of purifying the cultivators in the foggy area was similar to the cleaning up of the Eternal Supreme World. They also encountered resistance from the Supreme Venerables. Moreover, they encountered two Supreme Venerables. These two Supreme Venerables were the same as Yen Hengsher's judgment. They had both advanced to the Supreme Venerable level recently. They still had a trace of hope for the three Supreme Venerables and stood opposite of Knight Sorrow. Chapter 34-44. In the end, in order to prevent them from becoming food for the three Supreme Venerables, Knight Sorrow defeated them one by one. He purified them and kept them in the ancient coffin. However, even though the two of them were purified, they had no intention of fighting against the three Supreme Venerables. In their hearts, the three Supreme Venerables were godlike existences. They could not summon any determination to fight against them. Knight Sorrow knew that it was impossible to fight against the three Supreme Venerables with just the two of them. Therefore, he threw them into the ancient coffin and ignored them. He led the group to sweep through the foggy area. Wherever they could see and reach, they purified everyone and kept them in the ancient coffin. At this point everyone knew. He was not called Night Demon, but Knight Sorrow from the Eternal Supreme World. His goal was to defeat the three Supreme Venerables and bring peace to the world. If not, the cultivators in the Eternal Supreme World, the foggy area, and the surrounding realms would forever become food for the three Supreme Venerables. After the cultivators who were kept in the ancient coffin and hidden had endless expectations in their hearts, Knight Sorrow felt that his power of virtue had increased again. It had even touched the extremity. However, before he could completely advance, the three Supreme Venerables came out of seclusion one after another. The moment they came out of seclusion, the world trembled. When Venerable Mie came out of seclusion with a cultivation of half-step extremity 7th stage, he found that the foggy area was almost empty. He was immediately furious. He roared, "Who did it? Who did it? Come out!" Venerable Wuji and Venerable Dan had also advanced to half-step extremity 6th stage. If not for the fact that they wanted to advance, they would have already come out of seclusion. At this moment, they found that the world had changed greatly. Almost everyone was missing. There was no one to devour at all. They were so angry that they wanted to destroy the world. The three Supreme Experts, in their rage, searched the foggy area frantically. At this moment, because Knight Sorrow was at the critical moment of his advancement, and Yen Jizuan did not appear. He could only hide in the ancient coffin and let his power of virtue complete its advancement. After spending 200 years in the Eternal Divine Tower, Knight Sorrow's power of virtue had completely advanced to the extremity. In less than 100 years, he successfully reached the first realm of the undefeatable realm and became a true undefeatable. In the world where the ancient coffin was almost fully formed, the Supreme Paragon Tribulation was over. Knight Sorrow began to stabilize his cultivation base. He had just become a Supreme Venerable, so he still needed some time to adapt. If he rashly went out, he would lose more than he gained. While Knight Sorrow was leveling up and stabilizing his cultivation base, the three Supremes could not find anyone in the foggy area and the Eternal Supreme World, so they began to search the various hidden worlds. Now, it had already swallowed all the cultivators in the world of the new Extreme Werewolf Venerable. The nearby worlds were not spared either. However, because the newly ascended Supremacy Werewolf's realm was relatively low, Supremacy Annihilation, who had devoured him, did not advance to Supremacy 8th grade. When he was being devoured, the newly advanced Leaken Extreme Venerable begged bitterly, but he couldn't escape the fate of being eaten. He regretted not agreeing to work with Knight Sorrow back then. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. His tragedy could not be reversed. After devouring the Extreme Werewolf Venerable and some of the surrounding powerful realms, Supremacy Annihilation's face was full of killing intent. If I'm not wrong, someone must have hidden everyone before we came out of seclusion. Since we can't find them, we'll destroy the entire world. Let's see where they can hide. Brother Annihilation's words make sense. Also, I know that there are tens of thousands of small worlds behind the Eternal Supreme World. Although the cultivation base of the people there is very low, if we devour the entire world, we can still improve a little. Supremacy Limitless' body was surrounded by flames, and there was a clear ruthlessness between his brows. Hearing this, Supremacy Pill sneered. No need to rush. We'll take it slow and eventually force out the people behind the scenes. As long as we devour them together, Brother Annihilation is likely to open up a new realm. It'll lead us to new worlds. The world in front of us is full of ants. We need to cultivate for countless years before we can devour them once. It's really too boring. This time, I'm prepared to go all out and devour the world's origin as well. I've waited for too long, and I don't have the patience to do it again. Supremacy Annihilation's eyes were filled with endless brutality. He had completely become the kind of demon who would destroy the world. After he finished speaking, Supremacy Limitless and Supremacy Pill responded one after another. Then, the three of them nearby devoured the world where Supremacy Werewolf Venerable was, as well as the surrounding realms, along with the world's origin. After devouring the surrounding realms, Supremacy Annihilation sneered. Devouring these snacks is really too boring. Next, we'll attack the Eternal Supreme World and the fog area. I'd like to see what eternity is. Alright, we'll first devour the tens of thousands of realms connected to the Eternal Supreme World, then devour the Eternal Supreme World. I'll lead the way. Supremacy Limitless responded and led the way, leading Supremacy Annihilation and Supremacy Pill to search for the tens of thousands of realms behind the Eternal Supreme World. The strongest cultivators in these realms were all at the Sovereign Realm. As Supremacies, they were preparing to attack these realms. One could imagine how evil they were. However, the three Supremacies had just devoured the realms behind the Moon Shadow Estate. An elegant woman appeared in the void above the Eternal Supreme World, blocking their path. She growled in a low voice. As Supremacy, don't you feel ashamed bullying some rulers? Hee. A big fish has appeared. Long time no see, Supremacy Yen. This time, I won't let you escape. Supremacy Annihilation's face lit up when he saw Supremacy Yen appear. Right now, he wanted to continuously devour Supremacies to increase his cultivation realm. Supremacy Yen in front of him was also a 7th grade Supreme Supremacy. If he devoured him, he would likely advance directly to 8th grade Supreme Supremacy. He would be one step closer to the new realm he was looking forward to. I've just made my move and I've already lured out such a big fish. It seems that I've done the right thing. Supremacy Limitless' face revealed a tyrannical smile when he saw Supremacy Yen appear. Supremacy Pill sneered. Just attack and take him down. What's there to talk about? He had been injured by Supremacy Yen in the past, so he held a grudge. What right do you have to be brave when you've already been defeated? Today, I'll destroy all of you and return peace to the world. Supremacy Yen faced the three Supremacies alone, displaying a shocking fighting spirit. The moment he roared, the entire world resonated with him. The Eternal Supreme World beneath Supremacy Yen's feet rose up with endless energy, adding to his body, making him look incomparably sacred. Chapter 34-45. However, for the three Supremes, Yen Jizuan was just an opponent and a target to devour. Extreme Destruction sneered. Do you think you can fight the three of us alone just because you're blessed? The more dazzling you look now, the more miserable you'll end up. You don't deserve to make up my fate. Yen Jizuan, who was blessed, had her hair fluttering in the wind. A long sword appeared in her hand as she spoke. The moment the long sword was unsheathed, the surrounding void rumbled, and the space within thousands of miles trembled. The power it contained was quite invincible. Heaven-defying 9 swords. After taking out the long sword, Yen Jizuan didn't hesitate and attacked Extreme Destruction, the strongest of the three Supremes. He saw Yen Jizuan's attack with his eyes. Extreme Destruction sneered at Yen Jizuan with a disdainful look. You look strong, but you're actually pathetic. Fighting the three of us alone, your fate has already been decided. Void Destruction. After Venerate Mie used the Void Obliteration, the rumbling of the void became even more intense. At this moment, if there was a half-step Supremes here, they would definitely be crushed to death by Extreme Supreme's domain. The moment Extreme Destruction attacked, Extreme Supreme's Limitless and Extreme Supreme's Dan also attacked with their unique skills. The three of them had mastered thousands of superpowers, and they had all combined their own attacks. At this moment, they attacked Yen Jizuan at the same time. It was like thousands of giant dragons were pressuring her at the same time. According to the three Supremes, they should be able to take Yen Jizuan down in a few breaths of time. However, to their surprise, the thousands of superpowers they used were directly cut by Yen Jizuan's heaven-defying 9 swords. Just so. Sword concealing in the void. After breaking the superpowers of the three Supremes, Yen Jizuan didn't hesitate to attack Extreme Destruction. According to her idea, as long as she killed Extreme Destruction, the remaining 2 Supremes wouldn't be a threat. After this sword attack, Yen Jizuan, who was blessed, gained the upper hand again. She directly injured Extreme Destruction. However, Extreme Destruction was a 7th grade Supremes after all. He couldn't be killed so easily. He quickly recovered. The 3 Supreme Masters also took the fight seriously. They knew Yen Jizuan was not easy to deal with. When they used their strongest techniques and even started to burn their Supreme bloodlines, their strength instantly increased by more than 1 level. In addition, as the battle progressed, Yen Jizuan's buff began to slowly fade away. After these blessings faded away, she was no longer able to gain any advantage against the 3 of them and was gradually being suppressed. Hehe. As I said before, your fate has long been determined. You will become food for this sovereign's advancement. Seeing that Yen Jizuan's blessing was over, a smile suddenly appeared on Ye Jizuan's cold face. Then he roared, "Seal of mountains and rivers, return!" At the same time, a mountain in the foggy Lu Tian Academy suddenly flew toward them. His speed was so fast that it was as if the distance between them did not exist. After the mountain appeared, the surrounding area changed instantly. It was as if everything was under the control of Extreme Destruction supremacy. "Star Hall return," Sovereign Dan Extreme called out. The Star Hall in the endless Milky Way heard the call. It suddenly streaked across the void and quickly appeared in the sky above the Eternal Supreme Realm. Dozens of quasi-supreme supremacy puppets in the Star Hall came out in a line and stood behind Sovereign Dan Extreme. Sea of Sun return. Sovereign Limitless did not fall behind and summoned at the same time. Night Sorrow had once fought in the Sea of Sunday. It turned out to be his ultimate treasure. After the Sea of the Sun was summoned, the originally somewhat dim void suddenly became dazzling. Countless flame demons were summoned and appeared in the void. These 3 were ready to use their killer moves. "I'll help you." At this moment, Yen Hengsher's voice resounded through the void. In an instant, he, who was a 6th grade Supreme Master, appeared in front of Yen Jizuan. "Brother, we're going to fight side by side again." Seeing Yen Hengsher appear, a smile immediately appeared on Yen Ji's face. The 3 Supreme Supremacy's expressions all became very ugly. Sovereign Ye Ji said in disbelief, "You're not dead and have recovered to 6th grade Supreme Master?" "Hehe. If it weren't for the fact that I had to recover to 6th grade Supreme Master, I would have come out to fight you already." Yen Hengsher's face was full of loathing. He was very disdainful of the 3 Supreme Supremacy's actions. That kind of cruelty was the same as that of animals in his heart. Hehe. The same opponent, but of a different level. This time, we'll be the ones to win. After sizing up Yen Hengsher, Supremacy Mie's brows were full of disdain. Back then, Yen Hengsher had fought 2 Supreme Supremacies by himself. He was much stronger than Sovereign Mie Ji. But now, Sovereign Mie Ji had completely surpassed him and suppressed him by a small level. Hehe. It's different this time. Night Sorrow come out. Yen Hengsher smiled and summoned the 2nd grade Supreme Night Sorrow. After absorbing the energy provided by the Eternal Divine Tower, he had quickly advanced to 2nd grade Supreme Master. But there was no time to advance further. He could only fight like this. Seeing that Night Sorrow's cultivation was only 2nd grade Supreme Master, Sovereign Wuji's face showed a trace of disdain. It's not easy to advance to 2nd grade Supreme Master in such a short time. But can an ant like you fight against any one of us? I'm ready to deal with you. There was a confident smile on Yi Shang's face. Although the difference in cultivation level between them was huge, he didn't show any signs of weakness. Moreover, He didn't feel uncomfortable at all under Sovereign Wuji's powerful divine realm. The power of merit had given him a considerable boost. You? I can destroy you with a flick of my finger. Sovereign Wuji looked at Night Sorrow with disdain and was about to control the Sea of Sun to attack him. At this time, another voice sounded in the void. Night Sorrow, I'm here to help you. Senior Longevity? Hearing this voice, Night Sorrow, who was about to attack Sovereign Wuji, raised his eyebrows. With a hopeful look, he looked into the distance and realized that it was indeed Supreme Longevity. Supreme Longevity had also advanced to the Supreme Master, but his cultivation level was only first-grade Supreme Master. It's me. Let's work together and kill Sovereign Wuji. Supreme Venerate Chongsheng flew to Yishang's side and said confidently. His eyes were as bright as stars and filled with confidence. All right. Let's kill all 3 of these bastards today. Let's return peace to the world. Night Sorrow roared and summoned the Eternal Divine Tower. At this moment, the other items he had on him were of too low a level to fight against Supreme Exalts. The only thing that could help was the Eternal Divine Tower. Night Sorrow, the key of this battle is you and your friends. If you can withstand Sovereign Wuji's attack, we will be the final victor. Seeing Night Sorrow and Supreme Longevity rush over, Yen Jizuan said arrogantly. Chapter 34-46. Don't worry, Senior. Night Sorrow will do his best for the world. Night Sorrow replied to Yen Jizuan, then sent a message to Supreme Longevity. Senior Longevity, we can't afford to lose this battle. We have to hold limitless supremacy back even if we have to die. Don't worry. Although one of us is first grade and the other is second grade, our recovery speed is amazing. He won't be able to defeat us that easily. Let's fight to our heart's content today. Marshal Yin Yang Manga. Supreme Longevity Immortal took out a jar of wine and gulped it down without hesitation. Then, he threw the jar at limitless supremacy in the distance. They overestimated their own capabilities. Relying on those 2 ants, they were simply delivering food to this lord. Prepare to die. Limitless Supremacy snorted, then controlled thousands of fire demons to attack Night Sorrow and Supreme Longevity. Although these fire demons weren't at the level of Supreme Longevity, they were still quite powerful when they self-destructed. Especially the fire essence they contained, they could more or less pose a threat to Night Sorrow and Supreme Longevity. At the same time, Limitless Supremacy also controlled the Sea of Sun to attack them with terrifying flames. Among these flames, the strongest was definitely at the level of Supreme Longevity, and it wasn't lower than the 5th grade of the Supreme Longevity. Under such a large-scale attack, Supreme Longevity couldn't dodge, and didn't have a Supreme Longevity artifact to resist. They could only use the power of the Star Ruins to resist. They were burned beyond recognition. Night Sorrow used the Eternal Divine Tower to attack, blasting the flames back. After resisting the attack of the Sea of the Sun, he struck out a buff-type defense word seal towards the Longevity Supremacy, and also struck out some frost power. This allowed him to catch his breath. At the same time, Night Sorrow, who could see that Supreme Longevity was struggling, used the power of the Star Ruins and Ice Force to attack Limitless Supremacy with the Ice Force. And the Trapping Formation triple attack. Facing Night Sorrow's attack, Limitless Supremacy laughed in disdain. Haha! I can unleash thousands of attacks of your level in an instant. As soon as he finished speaking, he sent Night Sorrow flying with a palm. The difference in strength between level 6 and level 2 of the Supreme Realm was much greater than Night Sorrow had imagined. However, he was not seriously injured by this attack. After being sent flying, he quickly stabilized himself and stood in the void. Looking at Wuji Zun, he said, "Your attack is only O." After that, he activated the 33 Heaven Star Ruins secret combat technique and the improved Destruction Divine ability, and ignited all of his bloodline. From his point of view, Limitless Sovereign was not as strong as he had imagined. He seemed to have the power to fight against him. Fortunately, he had activated all his statuses. However, he felt a little awkward using the Destruction Divine ability in front of Extreme Destruction Supremacy. Displeasure flashed in Night Sorrow's heart. He sent a voice projection to Eternal Life, who had dodged the flame attack but was injured. Senior Eternal Life, I feel that this Limitless Prime is not as strong as I imagined. Prepare to enter your strongest state and fight with him, injuring him severely. We can't place all our hopes on the other two seniors. Good. Today, even if I have to risk my life, I will cooperate with you to kill Limitless Sovereign. Supreme Longevity originally only wanted to defend passively, but after hearing Knight Sorrow's words, he suddenly became excited. He knew that this junior of his would not speak without thinking. If he said it was possible, then there was hope. Immediately, he ignited his bloodline and raised his strength to the strongest state. You two want to fight me to the death? Seeing Knight Sorrow and Supreme Longevity raise their strength to the peak, Limitless Sovereign sneered. He directly absorbed the Sea of Sunday. He also raised his strength by a lot, making his aura infinitely close to level 7 supremacy. Then, he struck out a palm toward Knight Sorrow and Supreme Longevity. Although this palm strike was casual, it contained a strong flame power, which was close to the limit of the world. Even Knight Sorrow and Supreme Longevity found it hard to bear. The two were forced back one after another. After sending Knight Sorrow and Supreme Longevity flying, Limitless Sovereign mocked. Didn't you raise your strength to the strongest? How come you can't even take a palm strike from me? I can't take your attack, but that doesn't mean you can take mine. At this moment, Knight Sorrow suddenly took out the Golden Heavenly Halberd and Desolation Halberd and merged them together. After activating the Star Ruins power, he suddenly struck out a spear strike that contained the Star Ruins power at Limitless Sovereign. This spear strike contained Knight Sorrow's lifetime understanding. It did not have a name, but its power was definitely stronger than all his attacks in his life. At the same time, Supreme Longevity also cooperated with Knight Sorrow and struck out a unique skill that contained the Star Ruins power. Star Ruins Space. After the Star Ruins Space was formed, it immediately sealed Limitless Sovereign inside. With the help of Knight Sorrow's 3 consecutive attacks, he could not dodge Knight Sorrow's spear strike at all. Kiki. So powerful. I can't dodge it. Then let this venerable see just what kind of power your spear has. Limitless Sovereign, who was trapped, did not panic at all. Facing Knight Sorrow's spear, he summoned a flame spear and shot it towards Knight Sorrow, who was Man Gun Kazuchi. With a buzzing sound, the void was really shattered for thousands of miles. Even the 4 Supreme Sovereigns who were in the middle of the battle were attracted. They did not expect that there would be such a big commotion here. When everyone looked over, they were all surprised to see that Knight Sorrow had pierced through Limitless Sovereign with a single spear strike. However, for an existence at the level of Supreme Sovereigns, even if their body or dantian were pierced, they would not lose their battle power. Because even a strand of hair of a Supreme Sovereign could erupt with endless power. Knight Sorrow, you have successfully enraged me. Go to hell. After being pierced through by Knight Sorrow, Limitless Sovereign was completely enraged. He suddenly burned his own bloodline. This time, he really raised his strength to the peak. At this time, Yen Hengxia reminded, Knight Sorrow, be careful. Limitless Sovereign still has many powerful moves that he has not used yet. Thank you for the reminder. Knight Sorrow, who was in a killing frenzy, replied, then attacked Limitless Sovereign together with Supreme Longevity. However, this time, Supreme Longevity's astral void dimension was broken by Limitless Sovereign as soon as it appeared. After destroying the Star Ruin space, Venerable Wuji ferociously struck at Venerable Longevity. He sneered, ant-like thing, don't get in my way. Then he smashed Supreme Longevity's body into pieces with a single palm strike, then sent Knight Sorrow flying with a backhand strike. Knight Sorrow's body was obviously stronger than Supreme Longevity's, so it was not a big deal. Senior Longevity. Seeing Supreme Longevity being smashed into pieces by Limitless Sovereign, Knight Sorrow roared. He sent a telepathic message, Eternal Divine Tower, give me one of your elixirs. Then, he consumed the elixirs that were refined by the Eternal Divine Tower to increase his strength, increasing his strength by 10 times. This was his limit, and it could only last for 20 breaths. Chapter 34-47. These 20 breaths of time would determine the fate of Knight Sorrow and venerated infinite supremacy. After Knight Sorrow raised his aura, his body glowed brightly. He floated in the air like a god. His every movement carried an indescribable aura. This was the sublimation of his soul. His soul had also improved qualitatively after taking the pill. Seeing the change in Knight Sorrow's aura, Limitless sneered. Your companion has been killed by me. Now we're one-on-one. Do you still need to struggle? We'll only know after we fight. Knight Sorrow knew that this was the most important and the most difficult battle in his life. With a roar, he used his speed to approach Limitless. He knew that he couldn't compare to his opponent who had thousands of abilities in terms of spells. He chose to fight in the most primitive way, close combat. Close combat? I've been a supreme exalt for many years. My body's strength is not something you can compare to. Seeing that Knight Sorrow chose to give up on Limitless' most powerful spell attack and try to get close to him, Limitless smiled disdainfully. Endless flames bloomed around him. Then, he began what might be the most powerful close combat in the world with Knight Sorrow. At this time, Yen Hengshi and Limitless Pill were also fighting fiercely. Although Yen Hengshi had just recovered, his combat strength was clearly superior to Limitless Pill's. However, Limitless Pill's Star Hall was a supreme divine artifact. It was very mysterious and increased his strength by more than one level. The two sides reached a stalemate that was difficult to break. On the other side, the battle between Yen Hengshi and Limitless Annihilation was obviously on a higher level than the other two battles. Yen Hengshi wanted to quickly kill Limitless Annihilation and end the battle. But as the battle went on, she suddenly realized that Limitless Annihilation's strength was above hers. If the battle continued, it would be hard to say what would happen. Therefore, Yen Hengshi also put on a desperate stance, wanting to fight Limitless Annihilation to the death. Limitless Annihilation, who vaguely had the upper hand, was a battle maniac. After Yen Hengshi chose to fight with her life on the line, he fiercely increased his strength to the peak. The pace of this battle between supreme sovereigns was clearly faster than Yishan had expected. Almost in the blink of an eye, there would be changes. In a close combat state with Limitless Annihilation, Knight Sorrow was completely putting himself in a desperate situation. He exchanged moves with his opponent without regard for his life. Basically, he was hurting himself. But with the support of the human bloodline, his recovery ability was stronger than Limitless. However, the life force of an Extreme Venerable was extremely strong, and in a battle of this level, the life force of an Extreme Venerable was extremely powerful. Although Knight Sorrow could injure Limitless Supremacy, he didn't have the ability to instantly kill him. This made him extremely anxious. After all, he's Limitless Annihilation. What? You won't be able to maintain this state for long. You want to insta-kill me? Limitless. Come, let me see your strongest attack. Limitless Annihilation, who knew that Knight Sorrow couldn't maintain his Limitless Annihilation state for long, mocked him again. From his point of view, the battle in front of him was completely of the nature of entertainment. After all, there was a huge gap between him, Knight Sorrow, and supreme longevity in terms of cultivation and accumulation. Strongest attack? Do you want to try it? All right, I'll satisfy you. Knight Sorrow replied to Limitless Annihilation forcefully. As he said this, many figures appeared in his mind. He had a wife, children, clansmen, friends, and thousands of cultivators in the world. Then, he looked coldly at Limitless Annihilation and chose to get close to him again. Ignorant Junior. How dare you call yourself a widow in front of me? I'll kill you right now. Limitless Annihilation released a cold, murderous aura. But at this moment, Knight Sorrow, who was close to him, chose to self-destruct with the Eternal Divine Tower in his strongest state. At this moment, with the support of pills, his life force was basically on par with Limitless Annihilation. The power of his self-destruction was imaginable. With the Eternal Divine Tower, he was even more powerful. When Limitless Annihilation realized this, his pupils shrank and he wanted to escape. However, at such a close distance, where could he escape to? In an instant, he was severely injured by Knight Sorrow's self-destruction. Although Limitless Annihilation didn't completely kill him, his origin was damaged and he couldn't fight at all. Knight Sorrow. Seeing Knight Sorrow choose to self-destruct and seriously injure Limitless Annihilation, Yen Hengshi's body trembled. Then, he took out the ancient coffin that he borrowed from Knight Sorrow and put everything that was scattered in the void into it. Then, he waved his hand and threw it into the distance. On the other side, Yen Hengshi took the opportunity to attack Limitless Annihilation, who had lost his ability to fight, with a sword of aura. He wanted to kill him completely. You want to kill someone in front of me? At this moment, Annihilation Supremacy suddenly attacked and dissolved Yen Hengshi's attack. Then they started fighting again. Yen Hengshi was in the same situation. Seeing that limitless annihilation supremacy couldn't fight back and didn't have a chance to attack, he was very anxious. Because limitless annihilation supremacy in the void was slowly recovering his life force. This was the terrifying part of supreme supremacy. If this continued, the three supreme supremacies would win again. Yan Hengshi and Yan Hengshi looked at each other and saw the unwillingness in each other's eyes. But at this moment, they couldn't break the situation at all. Die! At this moment, an angry roar came from the void. It was Supreme Longevity who had come back to life. He appeared in the void again and attacked limitless annihilation supremacy at the closest distance. After being hit, limitless annihilation supremacy, who was already dying, was completely killed. Damn you! Seeing that Supreme Longevity had appeared and killed limitless annihilation supremacy, Yan Hengshi went crazy. Mie Jizun roared madly. While fighting against Yan Jizun, he threw the seal of 10,000 miles of mountains and rivers at Longevity Supreme. He directly sucked Supreme Longevity into it. No! Seeing this scene, Yan Hengshi immediately shouted. But it was too late to stop the tragedy. In the next moment, the powerful annihilation supremacy devoured Supreme Longevity. In an instant, his strength increased crazily, and he rushed to the 8th level of the Supreme Realm. Brother! What should we do to defeat them? Yan Hengshi transmitted her voice to Yan Hengshi. At this moment, she couldn't see any hope of victory. Yan Hengshi, who was fighting against Supremacy Dan, didn't respond for a long time. This was because he also couldn't see any hope of victory. Supremacy, whose strength was increasing, said coldly, "Today, I will devour all of you. I will open a new realm." Chapter 34-48. Let's fight. Let's fight to the end. If we can't win, we'll choose to self-detonate like night sorrow. At worst, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We'll never return. Yan Jizun didn't get a response from Yan Hengshi. He took out an oil paper umbrella and threw it into the air. After the paper umbrella was thrown out, it emitted rings of light one after another. The souls of the three supreme venerables who were affected by the attack were greatly affected, and their powers were greatly weakened. Isn't this something from this world? Yan Jizun took out the divine artifact that suppressed everyone's souls. Mie Jizun said in surprise. At this moment, after devouring Supreme Longevity, his strength was gradually rising to the 8th level of the Supreme Realm. His rise was suddenly interrupted by the oil paper umbrella, which made him very uncomfortable. No matter where it comes from, it's used to suppress you. Yan Jizun said telepathically, "Brother, the oil paper umbrella can temporarily slow down the increase of their strength and suppress their souls. Let's find a chance to kill Mie Wuji first." Okay. One kill is one kill. Yan Hengshi said telepathically and began to discuss with Yan Jizun how to find a chance to kill Mie Wuji. At this moment, Mie Wuji was floating in the air after being severely injured by Night Sorrow's self-detonation. He should be able to recover soon. Compared to Mie Jizun and Dan Jizun, he was naturally the easiest to kill. However, just as Yan Jizun and Yan Hengshi were discussing countermeasures, something unexpected happened. Before the two of them could make a move, Mie Wuji was directly devoured by Mie Jizun. After devouring Mie Wuji, his strength directly rose to the 8th level of the Supreme Realm, and his aura was constantly rising. He was about to reach the 9th level. Such strength was enough to completely crush Yan Jizun and Yan Hengshi. The two Supremes looked at each other and realized that something was wrong. Dan Jizun originally wanted to scold Mie Jizun, but he didn't dare to speak at all. Mie Jizun's strength was simply too terrifying. He had grown to a frightening level. His eyes, which were originally normal, were now filled with a terrifying red light. Not good. We can't fight against Mie at all. Yan Hengshi looked at Supremacy Mie from afar and realized that something was wrong. Yan Jizun didn't look too good either. She didn't expect Mie Jizun to become so strong after swallowing two Supreme Zun. What? I'm only at the 8th stage, and you're already afraid? As a Supreme Venerable, isn't it a little too unbearable to save such a small amount of courage? After Mie Jizun got used to his current power, he waved his hand and unleashed a light that shattered Yan Jizun's umbrella. Then he sneered, "After fighting for so many years, I'm about to kill all of you. I'm really a little reluctant. Although he talked a lot, Miejizun was not idle at all. He continued to attack Yan Jizun and Yan Hengshi. After he had advanced to the 8th grade of the extreme realm, his strength had become something that the two of them could not contend against. Although they had completely ignited their bloodline power, they were still repeatedly forced to retreat. There was no hope at all. In a situation where they were not as strong as supremacy destruction, the two of them, who were alone and without help, felt very desperate. In this situation, Yan Jizun said angrily, "Brother, let's choose to self-destruct. We can't let him take advantage of our essence." All right. Only in this way can we temporarily stop his strength from growing crazily. Yan Hengshi said helplessly. Although he was worried that after self-destructing, Miejizun would continue to wreak havoc in the myriad worlds, he really could not do anything. Self-destruct? You want to self-destruct? Do you think it's that easy? When Yan Jizun and Yan Hengshi had decided to self-destruct, Miejizun suddenly laughed wildly. He unleashed 2 energy halos and bound them inside. The two of them who were bound found that in this situation, they could not use any means at all. If they wanted to self-destruct, they could not control their own energy. Ha ha ha. The most exciting moment has finally arrived. What's the use of hiding those ants? As long as I devour all of you, I have hope of opening a new realm. After binding Yan Jizun and Yan Hengshi, Miejizun laughed wildly. Then, he did another unexpected thing and cruelly devoured Miejizun beside him. After devouring Miejizun, his strength completely advanced to the 9th grade of the extreme realm. When his strength reached the peak of the 9th grade of the extreme realm, Miejizun looked at Yan Jizun and Yan Hengshi with a strange smile. Next, it's time to witness a miracle. I hope you don't disappoint me. After fighting for so many years, I'm really reluctant to devour you. Don't be hypocritical. You didn't seem reluctant to devour Limitless and Miejizun, who have fought with you for so many years. Hearing this, Yan Jizun disdainfully said. When Miejizun devoured Limitless and Miejizun, he did not even blink. He had completely lost his humanity. In that case, I won't talk nonsense with you stepping stones. Accept your lamentable fate. After Miejizun finished speaking, he completely released his divine realm, ready to devour Yan Jizun and Yan Hengshi in his strongest state. You should accept your lamentable fate first. At this moment, a deep voice was suddenly heard from the void. It interrupted Miejizun, who was about to devour Yan Jizun and Yan Hengshi. Miejizun looked over and said in surprise, "You ant, you didn't die after self-destructing?" Yan Jizun looked in the direction of the void and reminded, "Night Sorrow, be careful of Miejizun. He has reached the 9th grade of Supreme Venerable. His strength is extraordinary. Senior Yan, don't worry. I came back from 400,000 years in order to end Miejizun." Night Sorrow, who was floating in the void, looked a little blurry and ethereal. Behind him was a huge black hole. After self-destructing during the battle, everything about Night Sorrow was taken into the coffin by Yan Hengshi and floated in the void. After Night Sorrow was successfully reborn in the coffin, his strength was still only at the 2nd grade of Supreme Venerable. Even if he returned, there was no way to prevent the tragedy from happening. Therefore, he merged the 2 coffins together and cultivated in peace in the new world. It took him 400,000 years to raise his strength to the 9th grade of Supreme Venerable. In the end, he mastered all the Daos in the new world and completely entered a new level. Now, he came from 400,000 years in the future. 400,000 years in the future? You came from the future? When Miejizun heard Night Sorrow's words, he was very surprised. Moreover, he had already sensed Night Sorrow's strength. Miejizun, haven't you always wanted to open a new realm? I'll let you see what a new realm is all about. Fusion of Daos. As soon as his voice fell, 10,000 rays of light appeared on Night Sorrow's palm. These were not only rays of light, but also the 10,000 Daos born from the world. They were no different from the 10,000 Daos in the 10,000 worlds. Then, he merged the 10,000 Daos together and blasted them toward Miejizun. Miejizun, who was wholeheartedly pursuing a new realm, wanted to say something, but before he could speak, he was directly killed by the 10,000 Daos. He completely understood the horror of a new realm. Night Sorrow, well done. I didn't expect you to stand up at this critical moment. How did you think of traveling through time from the future to stop this disaster? Yan Hengshi, who had recovered his freedom after the death of Mieji Zun, immediately asked excitedly. Senior Yan, we can slowly talk about these things when we meet in 400,000 years. At this time, Knight Sorrow's figure slowly disappeared into the void, and the black hole behind him also disappeared. After Knight Sorrow's figure disappeared, Supreme Longevity's figure slowly appeared at the place where Mieji Zun was killed. He had successfully revived again. In a corner of the universe, an ancient coffin was floating aimlessly. Knight Sorrow's originally broken body was recovering bit by bit. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.